Well, she's probably doing sleazy porn on the internet.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, March 16, 2017. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 912.
This is No Agenda.
Jiggling the handle on corporate media and broadcasting live from the darkest corners of the internet in downtown Austin, Tejas. That is FEMA Region 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, we'll be celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Oh, wait a minute. They did that last week, even though it wasn't St. Patrick's Day. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
All right. I threw you off with my jiggling the handle, didn't I?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, your opening wasn't all that great.
Well, neither was St. Patrick's Day.
When was St. Patrick's Day? Did I miss it?
I think they played it on Monday or last Sunday.
How does that work?
They had a parade.
Well, isn't it on a Tuesday or something?
No, it's tomorrow.
This is getting out of hand.
Try reading the newsletter sometime.
I actually didn't read this newsletter, but thank you for being a douche. Yeah, I didn't read the draft either because I was busy. Sorry.
Oh, what were you doing?
I was in spin class.
You're always in spin class.
I'm not always in spin class. You send it whenever I'm in spin class.
No, I send it the same time all the time. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me
you should do it while
what else you send the draft. You're telling me you send the draft the same time every time.
Pretty much. Within an hour or two. Get your little phone out and do some messaging while you're pedaling. And you can do it while you're pedaling. It's not. What are you doing with your hands?
You clearly have no idea what spin class is.
It's pedaling.
Yeah, no, it's more than that. It's okay. Listen, we don't need to get into it.
I would love to get into it.
All right, well, come visit.
No.
I'll take you to the spin class. Hey, wait a minute. I'm seeing you this Saturday.
Right. Saturday.
Yeah. You're coming, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. We got a big party at the Grand Duke's house.
Yeah, Grand Duke Foley.
David Foley, yeah.
An event.
Yes. And we're going. That's a big deal.
Well, when the Grand Dukes do anything, we're going.
Yeah, of course. Hey, do me a favor. When you meet Tina, don't be your typical douchebag self. Just be nice.
You don't want me to encourage her to get into a fight with you?
No, not really. I've been setting her up. I've been managing her expectations. Like, I'm so excited.
What does this management consist of? What did you say?
Well, I said, are you excited to meet John? I said, yeah, it'd be great. I said, don't be. He's well known. He's well known for being a total douche upon first impressions. It's okay.
I think that's a reasonable thing to tell someone because that way you can't disappoint them.
You could surprise everybody by being super nice. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, that's what you're angling for.
Yeah, that'd be great. And give me some TPS reports as well. That'd be great.
I'll be super nice.
Hey. I spent all day yesterday and last evening following the Dutch elections.
Yes, why don't you give us an update because you're probably closer to. Because I stopped following around would be 9 your time because I had to go to bed.
Yeah, there wasn't much left.
8 or 10.
Yeah, there wasn't much left to follow at that point.
Well, he already lost.
Well, this is interesting. The way this is being
came in kind of a quasi tied for second.
Well, this is very interesting. The way it's been portrayed. Even the Dutch, because they had exit polls, which I think they've been doing for a number of years. The exit polls didn't work out. Not the way that the PVV, the Geert Wilders supporters, wanted it to work out. But there were definitely discrepancies, and there was a lot of confusion. There was the turnout was so high. Typically, they have the real preliminary results around 12:30 a.m. and it took a lot longer. And this is a parliamentary system. They have a lot of political parties. I think there must have been 15 or 6, maybe there's 20 of them. There's just a ton of them, including Ancilla, who of course is with the Pirate Party. Did not get any seat in government. She didn't make it in. But what was
thanks, Obama?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Obama.
What was interesting is that people pretty much went with the incumbent, with the conservative center right.
That's what they want.
Yeah, although what was really fun, and so yes, the way it works is you have I don't know how many seats you have in Parliament. You have to form a coalition, and that coalition then has a majority. So of course now you have the number one party is VVD. They were incumbent. The Labour Party got slaughtered, completely blown out of the water. They lost 25-30% of their seats. But you can see the Dutch, very typical. When the Dutch don't know what to do, they always vote for things like Green Left, which got a huge bump. And Green Left have been around for a long time. And they just, I don't even know what they do. But it's just kind of like one of these safe havens, And the same for D66. They got a big bump.
D66? Is that a road?
This was the Democrats, a Democratic Party that formed in 1966, D66. And they're they're just really middle of the road. Again, it's one of those things, you don't know what to vote on, just vote on those guys. But then they got a lot of votes. So they may now be in the coalition. But the way it was reported on Dutch TV, they were talking about the number one, the incumbent scoring. They were talking about the Labour Party losing so much. And they really didn't. Sometimes they wouldn't even mention the number two, who came in with that was Wilders' party, came in with 20 seats. Interesting that the incumbent won the election with 33 seats in government. Gotta love those magic numbers.
Oh,
so we'll see if they. I do not expect them to be invited into the ruling coalition. But the way it was reported, pretty much was, oh, he lost. Well, really what it showed is the Netherlands is very conservative. From a socialist, basically a socialist country, the Labour Party was huge for decades and decades, even the Socialist Party. And they just did not, they completely lost out. So I think a lot of the Wilders voters felt that a more center-right structured party would get them what they needed. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the incumbent. But it was around the world. Stop! They stopped him. They stopped the. Well, actually, I love this. This is Rachel Maddow. Yeah, you got to do this. You got to do this. Because here's something I have standing in. I know all about the politics. I know all about the multicultural society in the Netherlands. I know the Netherlands. I grew up there. So now I have a valid reason to pull apart Rachel Maddow's assertions here on what is happening and who this Wilders guy really is.
I have to say, this is just turning out to be kind of a bad day for Trump priorities all around. Tonight, we've also just got news from the Netherlands.
Somehow it's related, I guess.
Well, hold on a second. It's bad news for Trump priorities, and what's this got to do with Wilders?
Somehow it's related. Maybe it's because they call him the Dutch Donald Trump.
About the electoral fate of the man who many people consider to be, forgive me, sort of an extra racist Dutch version of Donald Trump.
Extra racist, no doubt. Okay.
His name is Geert Wilders. Here he is speaking at an event held on the sidelines of the Republican National Convention this summer. Notice the pictures behind him.
Now, this is an interesting bit she's doing here, particularly coming from her. This was at the convention, and I think it was Milo that had set up, a Gays for Trump thing, and it was the Twinks for Trump. And Twinks is
for Trump.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Twinks is a term for young, thin, white gay guys, boys really, but of age, you would presume. So in this, where Wilders was speaking, there were photos of Twinks on the wall wearing Trump hats. But it's not like Rachel Maddow doesn't know what Twinks means. It's not like
I would think she does.
You'd think that she would understand that this is, it's also a bit tongue-in-cheek, I think. I wasn't there. But to have Wilders speak there at all was interesting. And here's how she categorizes that.
National Convention this summer. Notice the pictures behind him. It was sort of a soft porn, Aryan, anti-Islam fest.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. No, there's a bunch of gay guys sitting around. But okay, anti-Islamic, what was it? Did she say Nazi or what did she say? She said something.
Play it back.
Anti-Islam fest.
Anti-Islam fest.
Anti-Islam fest.
A soft porn.
Soft porn.
Aryan.
You mean soft core porn, I think is what she means.
Anti-Islam fest that they called Twinks for Trump. Geert Wilders is an anti-Muslim.
Holy crap! Are you telling me that she did that straight? So
Yeah.
twinks, according to her,
Yeah.
are they're Islamophobic.
Yes. Soft porn, anti-Islamic. That makes total sense.
Best that they called Twinks for Trump. Geert Wilders is an anti-Muslim radical. He's a crusading, anti-immigrant, far-right nativist of a sort that has not been seen in top-tier Western European politics in decades.
No. Stop. No. I mean, technically, yes, decades. But it would have been interesting to refer to the man who started it, which is Pim Fortuyn. Gay himself, professor, who was saying the exact same things. The multicultural society has failed. He said it before everyone else jumped on board, like Cameron, 2005, 2006. And he said, we need to stop the Islamization of the Netherlands. That is the guy who started all of this originally. At the same time with Le Pen, by the way. Her dad was on deck at the time. So it's not exactly true what she's saying. But, let's just make everyone afraid.
But Geert Wilders was expected tonight to win the national elections in the Netherlands. He was expected tonight to become the new Dutch prime minister. He did not win. He will not be prime minister. We're going to have more on that
Okay, we
election
got the
result
point.
coming up tonight as well.
Can
I
she
should tell
do
you that
her stories so they're actually a little more concise?
No.
She reminds me of like a radio guy. A lot of these guys who do talk show radio, they have to work for 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they tend to repeat themselves, or they slowly tell a story and they say it over and over again. I think the best example of this is Jim Rome, who will say something like, he didn't win.
Right.
He did not win. He didn't win. They thought he was going to win, but he didn't win. And guess what?
Winning was not happening. Yeah. Well, something funny happened. She had, I'm fixing my mic cable here. She had, just along the lines of what you just heard, she had on Congressman Pascrell, who she was talking to. And just listen to what he said. Nice little flub here.
Who his partners are, where his money came from, how he's going to spend that money. And if you're not hiding anything, Mr. President, please let us know what the story is. We have a right to know if there's any conflicts of interest, and that goes for everybody in the executive branch of government.
Congressman Bill Pascrell is a member of the House Ways and Means Committee who's pushing as hard as anybody on this issue. Congressman, thanks for being with us tonight. Keep us apprised, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's all right. I answered to both. It's actually quite convenient in really unexpected places. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, the twink party.
Stay with us.
That's pretty good. That's almost as good as Brolf. I think everyone would say, hey, thanks. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, sir. That's funny.
And now a lot of people are going to slip that in.
I hope so. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. That Pascrell guy, he's funny. I got another clip from that same interview.
Joining us now is Congressman Bill Pascrell. He's a Democratic member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman Pascrell, it's nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Rachel, thanks for your courage.
Damn. All right, boy. Nice.
Wow.
He's just all over us.
Thanks for your courage.
Oh, man. It was great. So...
while you're on there, if you're going to be in Holland, we might as well do the bit that's, it last, and I think this actually may have affected some of the vote. Maybe not. Probably not. But but Erdogan was irked about, you brought up the clip on the last show about the throwing out the Turks.
Yeah, and he was saying that the Dutch are leftover Nazis.
Yeah. And they got thrown out of the Turks wanted to give their speeches all over the place because there's a big thing going on in Turkey to get Erdogan more power. Mm-hmm. But here's an example. This is and
I just want to reiterate something about that because I was thinking about it, and this is very typical of the difference between the European Union and the United States, and it's very applicable to this very week or this 10-day period. In the European Union, with the No Nations, No Borders in the Netherlands. You have these many Dutch-born Turks who are out there waving their Turkish flags with the flags for Erdogan for his party. And being on the face bag, I read a lot of people saying, "Well, what is this? What are you doing? You don't wave that flag. You can wave that during the World Cup or the European Cup, but you can't wave flags of a different nation in the Netherlands. That's not done." And I was like, wow, that's interesting because in the United States, a true country of immigrants, We encourage you to celebrate your heritage. We encourage the Irish to have a day. We encourage everybody to have a day. And you can wave whatever the heck flag you want. There's an interesting difference between just the two philosophies and the two cultures.
What happens if you wave the EU flag?
In the Netherlands?
Yeah.
Oh, you get lifted up high. you are a hero if you do that.
So the Turks are irked about getting not being able to give their speeches. So Erdogan decides to go off on Holland.
Well, today Erdogan repeated his accusation that the Netherlands was responsible for the Srebrenica massacre during the Bosnian War back in 1995.
Yeah, that was the last thing he said. That really ticked the Dutch off. That's a very sore spot. Let me explain. In Srebrenica, there was you had the Dutch battalion of the UN Blue Helmets. And when was this, John? This was in the mid-90s, I want to say?
It was during the Clinton administration.
Yeah. And, everything went wrong. And the Dutch battalion wound up, I think, killing 3,000 or 5,000 young Muslim men in Srebrenica. It was a really messed up situation. And it's something the Dutch really haven't gotten over. It still bothers them. And so this really opened up some wounds when Erdogan said that.
The Bosnian War back in 1995. Now, for the record, that massacre was carried out by Serbian forces.
It was one of the darkest moments in recent European history. The 1995 massacre of Srebrenica during the Balkan War. Serb forces killed 8,000 Muslim boys and men in the East Bosnian town. Dutch UN peacekeepers were on the ground, unable to stop the bloodbath.
Yeah, that's what it was. They didn't stop it. That's what it was. A typical Dutch. We wanted to stop them, but we couldn't find the bullet.
8,000 deaths. The Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan now blames on the Netherlands. He repeated the accusation on Wednesday at a campaign rally in central Anatolia. The Dutch have nothing to do with the civilized world. They have nothing to do with the modern world. They are the ones who massacred more than 8,000 Bosnian Muslims in Srebrenica in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We know their character.
Hell yeah.
In Strasbourg, the latest provocation from Turkey triggered a show of solidarity for the Netherlands from EU officials.
The Netherlands is Europe. And today I want to say that Europe is the Netherlands. A place of freedom and democracy. And for sure, Rotterdam, the city of Erasmus, brutally destroyed by the Nazis, which today has a mayor born in Morocco. If anyone sees fascism in Rotterdam, they are completely detached from reality.
Yeah, this was a big deal in the Netherlands. That was the Tusk, the Polish president. He's currently president of the 6-month window. And he was speaking fluent Dutch, and the Dutch were like, oh, well, okay, we didn't know that.
Well, this caused quite a stir.
Yeah.
And it also got the anti-Turkish coalition within the EU to chime in and say, why are we even considering these guys? This is bull crap anyway.
Right.
And this is part 2 of that clip.
Erdogan's comments led the EU Commission President to question Turkey's status as an EU membership candidate.
This is totally unacceptable, and the one who is doing this is taking distance from Europe and not trying to enter the European Union. The European Union is not joining Turkey. Turkey is joining the European Union.
Some EU countries have already called for an end to accession talks with Turkey as a result of Ankara's comments.
Well, there you go. Still trying to get him in.
I think the Turks don't want to get in at this point. I think they want to use it as leverage. I think Erdogan just wants to be some sort of a dictator.
Well, he's threatening with releasing the migrants.
Yeah, well, he's probably sick of them.
Yeah, and the EU is paying him for it. Billions.
Well, they can probably take the money and get rid of him anyway. I mean, that's something like that's going to happen. This guy's a bad actor.
This, of course, has stirred up, hope for Europe that, they won't become a nationalist because, of course, we don't want any nations or borders. So we can't have any nationalist
government. We still got the Le Pen thing. Did you see that clip I sent you? Well, you didn't obviously look at your Twitter feed, but
No.
There's a clip that just came out of
Is this
one of these.
her with Nigel Farage?
No. This is a clip of a bunch of irked French Muslims throwing tires under the freeway. It's very funny, actually, to be honest about it.
Here is man. They are jackhammering there, aren't they?
Yes, I have a jackhammer outside the window.
Here's Marine Le Pen. She's on Farage's radio show on LBC.
So let's be absolutely clear. You've decided that it's right for France to leave the European Union.
If I cannot restore those four sovereignties, and if I do restore them, I won't be the only one involved in the negotiation, because a great many countries, just like France, are suffering, as was the case of the UK. There is Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and I am convinced that France, which is a great country, could lead this negotiation, and other countries will join in to support the claims. And if we do succeed, the EU will no longer be the EU, just like the USSR that would accept private property or multiple parties or freedom of the press. That would no longer be the USSR. In that case, the EU would change its nature and it will become a Europe of nations and cooperation that we would like to have. And in that case, it would give all the European countries the freedom that they have been lacking and that to make us slaves.
Shut up, slave! Stai zitto, schiavo!
So she considers the EU to be a slave state. That's kind of cool.
Well, she's right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they don't want to be a slave state. I think that's the kind of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of deeply rooted, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah, peasants.
Okay, there's a number of directions we can go. I caught a number of cool things on C-SPAN. Just to wrap this up, though, I see you have a clip. I don't have one. I was going to talk a bit about the new law in the European Union. I see you have a clip about the headscarves.
Yeah, it's a very short clip. It was on PBS, Judy Woodruff.
Yep. Let's play this for a second.
The European Union's highest court ruled today that employers may bar Muslim women from wearing headscarves on the job. The ruling says that a ban is permitted so long as it is part of a company policy and not a sign of prejudice. It's a response to cases brought by two women, one Belgian and one French. Both were fired for refusing to remove their headscarves at work.
I found this to be a rather interesting report. Everyone reported it the same way. Headscarves, Muslim, headscarves, Muslim. The ruling, if you read it, specifically states no religious symbols. If that is the policy, you can't have a policy within an organization that says no headscarves. You can, and it will be upheld, you can have a policy that says no religious symbols. But of course, it's just like a travel ban, Muslim ban. Religious symbol ban, a headscarf ban.
Well, the thing is that I don't quite understand, unless they really want the headscarf to be a religious symbol, why they can't argue that it's not a religious symbol, it's a symbol of modesty, which could be applied to any of the religions. It just so happens to be very high on the list for the Muslim women.
Absolutely.
So I think it could be fought, but they don't do it that way. They fight it as a religious symbol, which it really shouldn't be a religious. It's not technically a religious symbol.
No. But it just goes to show, we are the real Islamophobes here. Don't look over there, please, whatever you do.
Don't look over here. Nothing to see here. Ooh, look at that.
The European Union people, they're the bigots. They're the Islamophobes.
Well,
if that's the way you want to look at it.
You can look at it any way you want. That's the great thing about it.
Yes. It is great. It is great. Okay.
So there's a number of things. There's a lot of stuff going on, as was outlined in the newsletter.
Yes. Which I did not read.
Yeah, well, it's still there. You got email. You can go look at it and take a minute. It's just a short newsletter, just mentioning a couple of things. There's not much to it.
All right. I'll go look and you drop the spunk.
Nah, I don't know about that. But let's take a look at some. We have I have a couple of ISOs that I want to pre-do.
Okay.
So we can maybe find a place to slip them in. Well, there's one in particular. This ISO, Thanks Nancy, I think has got a lot of potential uses.
Thanks, Nancy.
We should do it more like this.
It's just right there. I mean, it worked right there.
You're right.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Obama.
And you can do multiple combos.
Yeah.
I like it. It's pretty good.
Okay, you want to go to we got the Marine scandal, which I think is pretty funny, but here's one. Here's a good one. This is from C-SPAN, and this is from C-SPAN's feed of what they think is good.
Uh-huh.
So Montenegro is in the news because the Russians have been toying around with Montenegro. The other one starts with a name down there.
Montevideo?
No, it's in South America. Macedonia, yeah. So this is a potential for another good potential for a war, probably something similar to the Serbian war. So we can go in there, and because the Russians are trying to screw things up. So McCain, of course, is the guy pushing this.
Yeah.
And so he goes on the floor of the to promote something that will somehow get these countries into NATO eventually. And it's a sort of a treaty, so we have to go to war with Russia with McCain.
Yeah, of course.
So McCain is on the floor, and he's got this thing. He wants to do one of those where you're there with there's nobody in the place except you and two other people.
In fact, I saw this, and there were literally two other people in there.
One of them was Rand Paul, who's against this thing, and he's just staying there to object. But McCain is such a douchebag. He starts it off by saying, "If anyone objects, there's only one guy there."
Yeah, and I see you, little Rand Paul.
Yeah, he says, "If anyone objects, they're carrying water for Putin. They're a bunch of they're horrible people, and they're just promoting Putin and the Russians." And he goes on and on. And so then nothing happens. So then he does one of these things where I lay on the table, I'm going to do this. Pretty much tries to ram something through with a bunch of, we do this, we do that. You've heard these before. They go on and on for a long time. And the idea is that no one objects. The guy puts the gavel down and goes into law, more or less. And so he goes through this long thing, which you have to do to get this to work the way you want it to. And then Rand Paul says, I object. Which kills it right on the spot, all this work that McCain went through. And then Rand Paul walks. He leaves.
Yeah.
Which just pisses off McCain. This is a very funny clip.
Mr. President, if there is objection, and I note the senator from Kentucky on the floor, I will say before I read this, if there is objection, you are achieving the objectives of Vladimir Putin. You're achieving the objectives of trying to dismember this small country that has already been the subject of attempted coup. I have no idea why anyone would object to this, except that I will say, if they object, they are now carrying out the desires and ambitions of Vladimir Putin, and I do not say that lightly. So, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that at a time to be determined by the majority leader in consultation with the Democratic leader, the Senate proceed to executive session to consider calendar number 1, Montenegro Treaty Document 114-12, that the treaty be considered as having advanced through the various parliamentary stages up to and including the presentation of the resolution of ratification, that any committee declarations be agreed to as applicable, that there be no amendments in order to the treaty or the resolution of ratification, that there be 2 hours for debate, equally divided in the usual form. Upon the use of yielding back of time, the Senate proceed to vote on the resolution, that any statements be printed in the record as if read, that if the resolution of ratification is agreed to, the motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table.
I can't believe you left all this in. I clipped it out of my version of this clip.
Oh, I like it because it just shows you all the effort he goes into, because you have to read all these things.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why he was putting the disclaimer in at the beginning. You got to put all this in, and I just thought it was hilarious. He went through all this trouble.
Maybe it's because I already saw it once that I don't think it's hilarious anymore. But yeah, first-timers will like it.
Be immediately notified of the Senate's action that if the resolution is not agreed to, the treaty will be returned to the calendar, and that there be no motions or point of order in order, and a motion to reconsider, and then the Senate then resume legislative session.
Mr. President? Is the senator from Kentucky?
I object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President, I note the senator from Kentucky leaving the floor without justification or any rationale for the action that he has just taken. That is really remarkable. That a senator blocking a treaty that is supported by the overwhelming number, perhaps 98 at least, of his colleagues, would come to the floor and object and walk away. And walk away. The only conclusion you can draw when he walks away is he has no argument to be made. He has no justification for his objection to having a small nation be part of NATO that is under assault from the Russians. So I repeat again, the senator from Kentucky is now working for Vladimir Putin.
If you're blue and you don't know where there's fake news, why don't you get your Gitmo fix?
That's right, everybody.
Putin on the Ritz.
That's right, Rand Paul, now official Putin member. Putin member.
I want to see his 1099.
I'm sorry?
I want to see his 1099.
Yeah.
Putin Enterprises. I mean, give me a break. And McCain was, you could just tell, that's why I didn't want to play the whole thing like this.
Yeah.
He was steamed.
Oh, yeah, he was very mad.
Although he wasn't completely surprised.
No. Oh,
there was a reason Rand Paul was staying there, just to make that one objection and then to walk out.
Yeah.
Which irked him even more that he walked out.
Now, there was something else that happened. I don't know if that was Friday or Saturday regarding Russia and some of our favorite critters there up on the Hill. And this was a private briefing, not just in his office, but in a skiff, which is the secure tent that you sit in if you really want to talk about stuff that nobody can know about. And it was Comey who, one by one, had the the Intelligence Committee members come by. He explained to them what, if any, involvement there was, or collusion, or hacking, or anything the Russians did with respect to the election, with respect to wiretapping of the Russians, collusion by the Trump, everything was all going to be told. And so this was highly confidential. No one could talk about it, but the cameras were waiting. Did you see any of this? Because it was fascinating. You really should see the video just to see the sour faces of these people. So they did not get good news in my mind. I have 3 quick clips from the main actors who one by one came out of Comey's office. The first one is Dianne Feinstein.
Now, what was this regarding?
What I just said. Comey was briefing them, the Intelligence Committee, on everything about Russia, hacking, wiretapping, collusion.
I think it was mostly
all of it. All of it. At least that's what I understood from listening to all these douchebags come out and talk about it. Or actually,
my understanding was it was mostly about the Trump tap.
Well, I don't know they really wouldn't say what it was about at all, but
no, they were dead silent about it after the thing was over. There must have been something in there.
Yeah, there's no collusion.
No, I think there was something in there that indicated. I'm sure that. I think no collusion was part of it. But they came out saying it was pretty much saying it, at least Feinstein saying it is top secret.
Well, let's listen to the 3 actors I have here, because I think there's some telling points of information we can get from their non-statements.
I'll just make a very brief statement on behalf of the chairman and myself. The chairman and I had written a letter asking for a briefing on certain topics, which I'm not going to go into. And because of the strength of the chairman's and tough language, we were able to have a briefing. This briefing was all on sensitive matters and highly classified, and it's really not anything that we can answer any questions about.
But did Mr. Comey, did he confirm that there's an investigation ongoing into Russia?
I'm not going to answer any questions on it. I don't want to be rude to you, nor does the chairman. You've been standing here for a long time. I know how I would feel. My feet would hurt. And I'm sorry, but it's the way life is here right now.
It's the way she's saying something in that. That's why I left it in when she says, that's the way life is here. I think she's muffled right now or something.
Well, she's had, you got to remember, she's gotten weird because of that torture report she wrote. And
even the spying, they were spying on her. They were spying on her committee.
They started by spying on her.
CIA is they. Yeah.
The CIA was spying on her. We got to brief people on this again because it's very important.
Yeah.
She was ahead of the group putting together the report on the CIA torture program. And it's a huge report, and they were going to bring the whole thing out, then they weren't going to bring anything out, then they were going to bring out a little bit of it, and then they brought out a little bit, and then she pushed bringing out some of it, and they released a report, and then they buried the report.
Yeah.
And the process was triggered by her being spied on by the CIA. They hacked her. And she got bent out of shape. She went before the committee, and she made a big fuss about this.
Rightly so, I feel.
Yes, of course. And because she's supposed to be oversight.
Yeah.
And so they came out with this report. And then the thing that I thought was the most insulting was when the Senate was turned over to the Republicans in 2014, I think.
Yeah.
The guy who took over that committee, the Senate Oversight Intelligence Committee, he said that he wouldn't even read the report.
Is that Bill Hurd?
He made a big stink about this.
Is that Hurd? Bill Hurd?
Yeah.
Yeah, from
I think
Texas. Total douchebag.
He's a total douche. And he said, I don't know. I'm not going to look at it. I don't think I should look at it. I don't know why he said this. Would you, if you took over this committee? You know why?
Because that guy's ex-CIA. That's why. Hurd is ex-CIA. Undercover.
Well, it may be one of these things. And there's something I wanted to bring up on a previous show, which was when the WikiLeaks came out with all the CIA stuff, and then they tried to analyze it. And if we go back like 2 years when our economic hitman was dating the person that we believe to be in the State Department's secret organization, their little agency, she told him that she can't look at any of the WikiLeaks stuff. She can't look at it, even though the public can look at it.
Yeah.
You can look at it. I can look at it, but she can't look at it. I always thought that was very weird.
This will not stand.
And I still think it's weird. I think it's still in play, and I think when we see the analysis of all the WikiLeaks stuff that came out recently about the CIA, I think a lot of the people working in the media that work for the CIA
are going to get really worried.
They can't look at this stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah, so people who aren't talking about it are in.
Yes, that's the point.
Good. I like
because
that.
They
good one.
literally can't look at it by rule.
Yeah.
They can't look at it because they'd be fired. And there's good money there. And I just think that this is an abomination. This whole thing is completely out of control, this intelligence network.
The next piece is Nunes. Now, Nunes is the head of the Intelligence Committee. And he, in his answers, in his talking about not talking about it, he really gives away a lot of information about what the conversation was. In the way I see it is the question here, or one of the investigations perhaps ongoing, is how did we wind up tapping Mike Flynn? And if we did, how did we wind up tapping Donald Trump or other members of the then campaign or now administration? And Nunes,
And I want to put a layer on top of that. According to at least some of these guys doing this analysis, they say that you can catch people by accident because he's talking to a Russian ambassador, but they have to be the individual is an American citizen, which is what Mike Flynn was. Their name has to be redacted.
It's a little different than that. It's just a tad different. So of course you can wiretap, just using that term, foreign operative. So the wiretapping the ambassador, not a problem. And then, of course, you can receive you can intercept a phone call or record a phone call between the foreign operative, the Russian ambassador, and an American. Now, what is not supposed to happen is what they call the unmasking of the identity of the other person. So the way it works is you can literally, since every phone call is recorded, everything. It's just sitting there to be retrieved. So all you have to do is go up to the terminal, and low-level people can do this and type in Donald J. Trump, and they get, boom, here's all the things that you can unmask as a part of that conversation. That part is not necessarily legal, certainly not to leak that information out. Now, just listen to Nunes for a second as he starts to give away a lot of the problems that were going on in this meeting with Comey.
Is there any reason to believe that the president himself or anyone working for him in the White House would be one of these names that may have been swept up in something that could then have ultimately been leaked, like what happened with Michael Flynn?
Well, I think it's very possible. But like I said, we should know that by Friday.
Do you think the president himself might be one of those people that was swept up in this?
It's possible. Look, I mean,
notice the term "swept up." This is just intentional. I was just cleaning around with my broom. And I just swept up Trump. I don't know what happened.
Look, I mean, we think we understand how General Flynn was picked up in incidental collection, and perhaps there's additional incidental collection or or the other intelligence products where there was unmasking that occurred. Look, this is why we're sending a letter. Let's get it all out in the open so that we understand. We don't, like I've said many times, I'm concerned about unmasking of Americans' names, but I think as they relate to, as you'll see in the letter, as they relate to either the Trump.
Now, what's interesting here is he said you'll see it in the letter. This is the letter, I guess, that Feinstein wouldn't talk about. Unless there's a different letter. I think this is the letter he's referring to. So that will be made public the way he's talking. Oh, you'll see it in the letter. You'll see it in the letter. But I haven't seen it yet.
To either the Trump campaign and his folks or Hillary Clinton's campaign and her folks. We'd like to know if any names were unmasked. And I think that would help answer these questions.
Now, this is very interesting. He lets a little thing slip there by saying, we don't know if there's any contact with the Trump campaign or with Hillary Clinton's people. Oh, wouldn't that be unhandy? As corroborated by Russian ambassador spokeshole, some Kremlin spokeshole here.
Russian President Vladimir Putin's spokesman said in an interview Sunday that the Russian ambassador who met with Trump campaign officials also met with, quote, people working in think tanks advising Hillary or advising people working for Hillary. The spokesman said it is the job of Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak to meet with officials on both sides to talk about, quote, bilateral relations. He also defended those meetings, saying there were no attempts to interfere in the 2016 election. But he did, however, concede that Putin preferred Trump over Clinton, suggesting that the Russian president found Clinton hostile toward Russia, while Trump was open to thawing U.S.-Russian relations.
But contact was made by the Clinton campaign.
Sure.
So that could, of course. This is all such a tempest in a teapot. Now, the final clip I have.
I think there's more than a tempest in a teapot because there's something going on.
Yes, I think there is something going on, but here's what I found very interesting. So we have the ground zero guy of this is Adam Schiff. He's the guy that's been out there. He's been saying, this is all, Russia collusion, stole the election, Putin, etc. And
he's the worst, that guy.
Now, we had Clapper, director of national intelligence, say, no, I have no evidence there was any collusion. Then we have Nunes, the head of the intelligence committee, when asked the question, saying, no, there's no evidence of any collusion. What to do if you're Adam Schiff?
Do you have any evidence that there were contacts between the Trump campaign and Russians? That's the question we've been asking you every time.
Yeah, I don't have any evidence of that, and we're not going to get into. I mean, this gets to the whole issue of incidental collection. Who else was talking to the Russian ambassador? This is a slippery slope. So I think you just need to let the appropriate agencies get us the information in a timely manner, which I agree with the ranking member on. The more that they stall, the more they make it more complicated for us, the slower the investigation goes, and the more time it takes to answer your questions.
And I do want to say on that question because Director Clapper was asked a similar question. I cannot answer that question in the same way, not certainly with the same categorical nature of the response. So I don't share that summary conclusion, and that's about all I can say on that subject.
I'm going to use that. I don't share that summary conclusion. That's a good one. Whatever you said, I'm not sharing that summary conclusion. So, yeah, there is something going on, and they don't like it. There's something that is nasty for them. I'm not sure what, but that's the feeling I got. Back to Rand Paul. Let's circle around. Everyone's got it wrong, he says.
Well, I think the first thing to realize is that I think everybody's been getting the story wrong. I doubt that Trump was a target directly of any kind of eavesdropping, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. I think there's a very good chance it does. I don't have any special information, but the way it works is the FISA court, through Section 702, wiretaps foreigners and then listens to Americans. It's a backdoor search of Americans, and because they have so much data, they can type Donald Trump into their vast resources of people they're tapping overseas, and they get all of his phone calls. And so they did this to President Obama. They 1,227 times eavesdrops on President Obama's phone calls, then they mask him. But here's the problem, and General Hayden said this the other day. He said even low-level employees can unmask the caller. That's probably what happened to Flynn. They're not targeting Americans. They're targeting foreigners, but they're doing it purposefully to get to Americans.
Okay, so your point is the president would have been caught in a net, or excuse me, candidate Trump caught in a net but not targeted directly.
Or his associates, but it's very dangerous because they're revealing that now to the public.
And then the final bit of info I have is yet a whole different take on how this took place from our favorite lawmaker, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command. He didn't use the NSA, he didn't use the CIA, he didn't use the FBI, and he didn't use the Department of Justice. He used GCHQ. What the heck is GCHQ? That's the initials for the British spying agency. They have 24/7 access to the NSA database. So by simply having 2 people go to them saying, President Obama needs transcripts of conversations involving candidate Trump, conversations involving President-elect Trump, he's able to get it. And there's no American fingerprints on this.
That sounds pretty plausible to me.
Yeah, the problem is that's not getting the traction. That's not getting as much traction as you'd hope.
Well, yeah, the truth is always tractionless. The way I see it.
Yeah, the GCHQ thing. I have that too. That came after Harridge was on trying to explain stuff.
Oh, Pixie Girl?
Yeah, she came on Fox with this clip, which is Fox on Wiretaps 1.
Okay. We like Catherine Herridge.
Breaking tonight just moments ago, the Justice Department responding to demands for the DOJ to come forward with any and all information on President Trump's allegation that then President Obama was spying or wiretapping him during the 2016 campaign. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge live in Washington on what the DOJ is saying about this on this evening of this deadline. Hi, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Martha. Within the last hour, Justice Department spokesman confirming to Fox News that they have asked the committee for more time to review the request and determine if documents exist. Meantime, the White House spokesman telling reporters today the president's tweet March 4th was not meant literally.
Oh. The president was very clear in his tweet that it was, wiretapping. That spans a whole host of surveillance types of options. The House and the Senate Intelligence Committees will now look into that and provide a report back.
You missed the part where he says the president tweeted that in quotes, which is to me is on the same level of depends on what the word is means.
Oh, it was well. This, yeah.
Come on, that's bullshit. That's total bull. Total bull.
Provide a report back.
The House Intelligence Committee deadline comes just 1 week before the first public hearing on the Russia investigation, where current and former administration officials, including FBI Director James Comey, are invited witnesses. The committee's ranking Democrat believes the FBI director may be eager to testify.
The press reports are accurate that he asked the Department of Justice to knock this down, and they refused for whatever reason. He may welcome the opportunity, but he'll certainly have that on March 20th.
And moments ago, we received this statement from a spokesman for the committee's Republican chairman, who wants relevant documents before the public hearing a week today. It reads in part, quote, if the committee does not receive a response by then, the committee will ask for this information during the March 20th hearing and may resort to a compulsory process if our questions continue to go unanswered. And we're told tonight that specifically means issuing subpoena for any records, Martha.
This whole thing stems from one lone tweet.
Isn't that great? The tweet heard around the world.
Meanwhile, our buddy Rogers...
Wait, before you go on, did you see Trump on Tucker Carlson last night?
No, I didn't watch that.
Totally lame. Total nothing. I didn't clip it, just mentioning it, because it was anticipated. I'm like, oh, this is great. Tina even sent me a note, hey, Trump on Tucker tonight. Okay. So I'm like, let's watch this. So they're not in his studio. He doesn't have his box where he can make his faces. He has none of his infrastructure, and he sucked. He just asks questions.
He needs that.
Of course, because this is maybe a 2-camera shoot. It looked to me like they did naughties afterwards, so it's just a 1-camera shoot. So you don't have any of those response things, the interruptions, the way he does it. And he, quite frankly, I don't think he has the balls to interrupt or call the president out. It was lame.
I think I would agree with that theory.
Boring and lame.
He's good when he can bully somebody.
Yeah, when he has his bully kit with him.
His bully box.
In his bully box. Oh, nice. I'm going to write that one down. Good one. His bully box. That's exactly what it is, Johnny. On TV.
Yeah,
it's the bully box. Nice.
So Roger Stone shows up on CBS to answer questions about collusion with the Russians in the election, because CBS is going to stay on this because, of course, is representing the CIA.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, this is one of the few times that it would be nice, even if I had a picture I could put in the newsletter. Roger Stone comes onto this interview, and he is wearing just a normal kind of a gray pinstripe suit.
Oh, that's different for him.
Pinstripe suit with a tie.
Yeah.
And a dark black bowler hat. Now,
and what was this? CBS this morning? Was it the morning show?
No. This is the main news. This is CBS News. So this is the big show. And so he's wearing this bowler hat, and you look at him, you go, "Why is he wearing this bowler?" Because he's got a nice head of hair.
Can I tell you a story about this?
Sure.
So I once had a similar situation where there was a lot of media hype around me and a tax issue. It was a real problem. My partner, who I'd been in business with, he fled the country. Turns out he had a different name, was wanted for grand theft auto, manufacturing MDMA, all kinds of horrible things. And then, in securing all these businesses we had together, I transferred money from the helicopter company. Oh, good times. And then Curry's trying to hide money. It was horrible. So, then there was this huge onslaught of press against us. Us, I say. And I said, oh, man. And so, there was the big newspaper wanted to do an interview. And what I did is I dressed up in a prison uniform with a ball and chain for the pictures. And it's very effective when you do these things.
That's funny.
It's very effective. There's still pictures of me in my ball and chain, prison outfit. I'm going to jail. It's all so horrible. Anyway, so he's got the bowler on. I like that.
Good to have. Yeah, he's got this bowler on the whole time. And, he has a good set of, he's got nice hair, nice gray hair. It's pretty. And so there's no reason to wear a hat. He's not like a bald guy. So he's wearing the bowler, obviously, for effect. You just have to listen to this interview, imagining some guy with a bowler hat on, using this as a goof. And it's quite funny, but the guy who was hosting the show, Pelly, was off. Mentions it at the end.
The FBI is investigating whether the Trump campaign had improper contacts with Russians who wanted to meddle in the presidential election. Earlier this month, Roger Stone, a friend and former advisor to Mr. Trump, told our Jeff Pegues he had no contacts with Russian hackers, including the mysterious Guccifer 2.0. But Stone's story has changed.
There is no collusion here.
Despite that claim, Roger Stone now admits that he was in contact with Guccifer 2.0 at least 16 times during the 2016 campaign. That Twitter handle released hacked election information believed to be stolen from Democratic Party servers. It targeted Hillary Clinton and Democratic candidates in at least 6 states.
At the time, I had my one and only communications with it.
You had more than just one contact with this person. You had 1, 2, at least 3 between August 12th and September 9th.
Right. I would refer to it as an exchange.
That exchange appears to have started after Guccifer's first account was suspended and then reactivated in mid-August. Delighted you are.
Stop. I want the thing that wasn't brought up, and I'm going to point it out. They're counting exchanges as tweets.
Oh, that's an exchange?
I'm telling you, this is the most lame report I've ever seen, which I think justifies the bowler. Yes, the 3 exchanges were him tweeting him saying, "How you doing? Glad you got your account back." And I said, what do you think of it? The exchange number 2 was, "Do you have anything else for me?"
Oh, my goodness.
Exchange number 3 was another tweet. It's unbelievable.
That is crazy. That's lame. It's just lame.
Yeah. He never met the guy.
That's funny.
He wasn't talking to him on the phone.
He was just tweeting back and forth, and that's now exchanges. He had all these exchanges.
Yeah, 16 times.
Oh, man.
Started after Guccifer's first account was suspended and then reactivated in mid-August. Delighted you are reinstated, Stone wrote. Guccifer responded, do you find anything interesting in the docs I posted? A day later, according to these texts confirmed by Stone, he asked Guccifer to retweet an article Stone had written. Please retweet how the election can be rigged against Donald Trump. Guccifer replied, done, and later on the same day, please tell me if I can help you anyhow. Earlier this year, U.S. intelligence concluded that Guccifer's sites were a front for Russian military intelligence. In a way,
confirmed.
You're encouraging them to release more information.
Yeah, that's called networking. Remember, I have no idea that this gentleman is allegedly a Russian.
On Sunday, Arizona Senator John McCain called for Stone to testify in upcoming hearings. Anthony Stone defiantly told us that his response to that is game on.
Jeff, thanks. The bowler was an interesting statement.
Now, he says that guy, besides botching this whole story, it's a non-story. It's pretty much fake news. At the very end, he says Anthony Stone.
Oh, I didn't even hear that. He said Anthony Stone?
Yeah.
That's odd. Who is Anthony Stone?
There is no Anthony Stone. He meant Roger Stone. He didn't even know the guy's name.
Yeah, idiot. Typical. Well, idiocy on the television is it's not exclusive to the reporters. Kellyanne Conway laid a big egg.
Do you know whether Trump Tower was wiretapped?
What I can say is there are many ways to surveil each other now, unfortunately.
Do you believe
there was an article...
Now, this is Bernstein, I think. Bernstein interviewed her.
Yeah, Bernstein is completely sold out.
Well, especially if you listen to... Now, this is the guy, the investigative reporter. And he's sitting there with Kellyanne Conway. Then he's got his notepad. He's got his reporter tools. He's writing stuff with a pen. And, he asks a question, looks down. He's not doing this for TV at all. He's interviewing her for a written piece, and it's being videotaped. And Bernstein is from Watergate. I mean, this is an investigative reporter. Yet, listen.
Do you know whether Trump Tower was wiretapped?
What I can say is there are many ways to surveil each other now, unfortunately.
Do you believe
there was an article this week that talked about how you can surveil someone through their phones, through their certainly through their television sets. Any number of different ways, and microwaves that turn into cameras, etc. So we know that is just a fact of modern life.
Yeah.
See, there's your investigative reporter. Yeah, microwaves. He goes, sure, absolutely.
The way she said, the word she says was microwaves that turn into cameras.
Yeah.
And he was just like, what?
And he goes, sure.
I mean, that would have stopped anybody, you or I.
Listen again.
Any number of different ways, and microwaves that turn into cameras, etc. So we know that is just a fact of modern life.
Yeah. Sure. We all know that. Sure. My microwave turns into a camera all the time. Although, I will say,
it's like, why? Here's what I think happens with Kellyanne Conway. I honestly believe there's some truth to this. She puts you to sleep.
Yeah. And
I think by the time she got to that stupid statement that microwaves that turn into cameras, which is she talking about microwave stoves? Stoves? She talking about microwave antennas that we got one of these NSA things.
I want to know what article she read it in. She said it was an article. I want to know what article that was. That's what I would have asked. What article?
I would have asked a million things, but I think by the time they got to that point, and I'm sure there was stuff earlier that wasn't put out.
Yeah.
The guy is dead. He's like, he's glossed, he's glazed over.
I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, why microwave? Okay. That's the only thing I can think of, because you're right. Why didn't he perk up?
Curious, I'd say. Very curious.
Yeah, very curious.
But with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say, in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for can't look at it, Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also, in the morning to all the ships at sea, boots on the ground, the feet in the air, the subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
And in the morning to everybody in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Good to have everybody there. And in the morning to the one and only Cesium 137. He brought us the artwork for episode 911. Open news. Open news. Open news. We can't
it's
even
impossible
pronounce it.
to say.
This was the no agenda being paved on a road. I liked it a lot. It was very funny.
Yeah.
And we appreciate what our artists do. Also, what our end of show mix artists do. They're also all mentioned in the credits. And you can always participate in the art by going to noagendaartgenerator.com, uploading your art for the episode. We pick it right after the show. And thank you so much.
We should make a mention of a few things because they're starting to crop up again. We don't want our pictures in the art.
Yeah, correct.
At all.
Yeah. Don't put numbers. Don't put episode numbers in the art, except if it's a special episode.
Unless you're really shaking the dice, and because we like to have stuff for future use if it's a good idea. But if it's got an episode number plastered all over it, it's not usable after that.
No.
We did also have the lettering has to be big. The guy who did some of our favorite stuff had a real cool piece, and he wrote a grouse letter and said, I don't care if you use it or not, I just enjoyed it because the lettering is too small. But that's not the reason we didn't use it. It's going into the evergreen pile. That's the one that has it looks like it. Yeah. Thomas Moser's at the top of today's list with $355.46 as executive producer for show 912. This donation should bring me to knighthood, accounting below. I love the show, so this year I decided to get myself a knighthood for my 50th birthday, March 15th. I think he's on those lists. Please add me to the birthday list requesting strong black coffee and chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, let me put that on there. Strong black coffee and chocolate chip cookies. I'll put it on the Knight Perks list right away.
You may have noticed I have an extra penny on my donation. I figured that you two have thrown in enough pennies over the years, plus my inner math nerd noticed that $1,000.01 is binary for 33.
Oh, noes.
Yeah, 10001 is binary for 33. Blame the NLP, but I had to do it. That's pretty funny, actually.
That is good. That's a good
donation.
Yes.
We actually may change think about. We'll have a meeting to change the knighthood minimum. To that number for that reason.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
And then if we went against to throw in the extra penny, you'd give 1,000 instead of 999.
Right. So we actually win by a penny.
Yeah, we'll clean up. But this is one of those ideas.
I like the binary.
Clean up at a penny at a time.
Yes, that's right. It's like high frequency trading, John.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Pennies at a time.
I would like to be called Sir Moser of the Moserian, Knight of the 33rd Parallel. Moserian, this is. Jingle request 33 is the magic number. Yet, sir, and don't raff.
33, that's a magic number. It's the magic number.
Don't rap. Why are you rapping? Shut up. Shut up.
You've got karma.
So what does someone think who listens to this show for the first time and they hear all this deep analysis, all these clips and the little argument going on back and forth, what the clips all mean, and then we get this?
What you know what they think? What time is the Kardashians on?
I don't think anyone thinks that. Brian S. Hall in Ann Arbor, Michigan, $333.11. I happen to have
a note,
an actual written note typed with a signature and a stamp.
Sadly, what I think people think is a bunch of Republicans.
Republicans. We're playing 9999.
Yeah, Nazis, Islamophobes, misogynists, Republicans.
We're not Republicans, I can assure you.
Thanks.
Just dropping you some show 9/11 inspired value for value here with a well-deserved 339.11. Many thanks for the much-needed sanity and jollity.
Oh.
That's what we're providing with with all this craziness.
Sanity and jollity.
Jollity. If you would, and if you can, please call out. Jeez. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Jeez. Please, many thanks, blah, blah, blah. If you would, can you call out the freeloaders with Maxine Waters? This is a bunch of scumbags. Interesting.
Well, it is interesting because I do not have any Maxine Waters clips today, but I have 2 Maxine Waters jingles.
Nice.
So we'll play
Add
those.
to that a dash of karma, and I think we're good to go. Less note, more show. K8TIY.
Yes. 7-3s, Kilo 5, Alpha Charlie Charlie. We have 2 jingles, one made by Conan Salada and the first one by John Fletcher.
I want you to be queen. My love for you is almost obscene. I really hope you know what I mean. Maxine, Maxine, Maxine.
Who knew? Who knew Fletcher could do that? Let's listen to the second one by Conan Salada.
The fact of the matter is, this liberal will be all about socializing.
Maxine.
Hello?
Water.
Scumbag.
Maxine, Maxine, Maxine Water.
Perfect.
You've got karma.
Love it.
Baron Henry of the Outpost West in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, 31717. Him and Sir Ben are the 2 31717 celebrators of the St. Patrick's Day donation.
Right. Oh,
Keep it up, Baron Henry of Outpost West. And then no comment other than that. And Sir Ben of the
Apex
in Orland Apex in Orland Park, Illinois, 31717. This donation puts me over the threshold for knighthood. I don't think he's on. Well, he's already. Huh? What? This is confusing. Oh, I see. Okay, he's been pre-knighted apparently on the spreadsheet, but he needs to be knighted as Sir Ben of the Apex.
Okay.
This donation puts me over the threshold for knighthood. Full accounting and a longer note will be sent in email to John in case it gets lost. I'd like to be knighted as Sir Ben of the Apes. Let's see if he does have a note.
Not apes.
I don't know why. I'm never going to say Apex. I'm going to say apes.
Okay.
Apex. Let me see. Put him on the list if he's not.
Yeah, he's not on the list. I know why this all went wrong, too.
So I want to see if there's a note from Sir Ben of the Apex.
I don't have a note.
The problem is we don't have his name.
Well,
I don't think
I'll just
Sir
call
Ben
him Ben. I'll just call him Ben, and then he'll become Sir Ben of the Apex.
Actually, his name is probably Ben. Let me look under Ben. I can do that. Let's see if there's any recent notes from a guy named Ben.
Well, it says full accounting longer note will be sent to John in an email.
Yeah, well, Ben Doran. This must be it. No, that's on March 1st. This has to be sooner than that.
Yeah.
New Apache O Day from a guy named Ben. Announcement of final terms. No, Ben.
Oh, I got it. I got it right here. Yeah, I know. This came in this morning, which is why I didn't make it into the spreadsheet. John and Adam, with my participation in the St. Patrick's Day special, I have now surpassed the threshold for knighthood, full accounting included. I would like to be knighted Sir Ben of the Apex. Before I continue, I must ensure my close friend Aaron Durant, who celebrates his 18th birthday today, gets his deserved douchebag call-out.
Douchebag.
With that said, he's only been aboard for a few episodes and plans to exit douche status soon. Please also add him to the birthday list, which I will do in a moment when I'm done reading this. I'd like to bring to your attention to the motorsports news publication I run with the aforementioned douchebag. Though he's finishing up his senior year in high school and I'm tied to a full-time job, we've been growing our presence in the motorsports media and have been doing so the right way through our website, the Apex, located at theapex.racing. Superior quality and strict adhesion to good, now old-school journalism forms our relentless mindset in an effort to have our work rise as the pinnacle of North American racing coverage. Literally, the Apex. Our thinking of late has seen us arrive at early plans to implement the value-for-value model at the Apex as soon as we feel we're offering some serious value. Good. As season-long credential holders with IndyCar, we're quite committed, but have a long way to go before we can destroy the current advertising-based model in our niche. Thanks for bringing us the best podcast in the multiverse twice weekly. And he wants a couple of jingles here. Now, I just got to go back here. Now we have to put in his friend, what was it? I hate it when we have to do this during the show. I really do.
Put in his friend as what? Douchebag?
No, his birthday. It's his birthday.
Oh, his birthday.
Yeah, so this is Ben of the Apex. And it's Aaron Duran, Stella 18th birthday. Okay, we got that in. Now we had some jingles. God, I detest doing it this way. Reverend Al. Okay. We know what to do with that. And what else?
Karma.
Yeah, Karma. Okay. He has, and then wants this one first.
Bullshit. Resist. We must, and we will much about
You've
that.
Got
Be
Karma.
committed.
All right.
Last on the list is Brandon Toy in Pontiac, Michigan. $250. I rather seem to be wrecking the house across the street.
Sounds like
Somehow I humbly submit my donation, executive producer Tim Kiernan. Executive producer Tim Kiernan, who introduced me to the show 8 months ago, after I spent too many years in the alternate universe, kindly punched me in the mouth today.
Oh, good.
Today?
Good. Boom. Go for it.
Boy, you got punched hard to get $250 right off the bat.
Good.
Please credit $50 of my donation toward Tim's eventual knighthood. Since I need a cleaning, please hit me in the mouth with a de-douching and dry me off with jobs. Thanks for all your sacrifices, Brandon Toy.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got Karma.
And that will do it for today's show 912 for our associate executive producers. We do have a show coming up on Sunday. Fast. It's coming up fast.
It is.
And
Coming
there
in
will
hot.
not be a jackhammer outside.
Coming in hot. And I'll be in San Jose for the show.
Right, you'll be doing the show from the
Duke's house.
Yeah.
I have a PR mention here. This is from Sir Fudge Fountain, Baron of Ann Arbor. Kilo 8, Tango India, Yankee. 73s. Major news for me, I started doing the callclooney.org no agenda summaries around show 575 and worked backwards on older shows. Excuse me. Oh.
Jeez, where's your cough button?
Yeah, I just hit it. Worked backwards on older shows, kind of in parallel with the newer ones. That didn't work so well since context was lost, so I jumped back to my NA Virginity Loss show 470 and worked forward. Much better, and a lot of, I remember what I was doing when I heard that clip, nostalgic moments. Today, the gap was closed once I finished show 911. We have a run of 200, 200.5, 200.6, 470 to 911, 461 pages of no agenda lore, plus recently added album art. Now I'm going to jump back to show 1 and plumb the cobwebby origins of the best podcast in the universe. Estimated time requirement, 2 years, but it will be a heck of an adventure. It's already a giblet of sorts. Being a public domain,
it is a giblet.
Being a public domain PDF, but I'm starting to think hard copy. Hey, check it out. It's really cool. It's callclooney.org. It's summaries of every single show. It's really outstanding.
Huh.
Really, really outstanding. And I'm so happy that he's done that.
Callclooney.org?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll check it out.
I mean, it's not just a website, as you know. It's also a jingle.
You've got something going on and you need a distraction. Call Clooney. Call Clooney.
And thank you to everybody who came in with their executive producer or associate executive producer donations for today's program. Episode 912. Of course, we'll be thanking more people at the end of the show, closer to the end of the show, for $50 and above. Part of our value for value model. And obviously, we have another show coming up on Sunday. Doesn't matter where we are in the world, we bring you our best media deconstruction. Remember us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
And so I'll do my best out there in San Jose to propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order.
Shut up, slave.
Squirrel.
Shut up, slave.
There was another thing I bumped into on C-SPAN, which fascinated me. And I had no idea it was going to be on. And it was the House Armed Services Committee. And this is another one of those typical hearings where you bring in the shills. You bring in the people that you know, that you have on, your witnesses, so they say things that you want them to say. You prompt them. They're already all set up. They know the questions. They know what's coming. They know what answers to give. And, of course, these sessions are usually done for reasons of budgeting. We need more money. And where do we need more money the most? Well, where are we losing the fight with Russia? Any thoughts?
Apparently in Montenegro.
Yeah, that's one of them. We're losing the fight when it comes to propaganda. We've heard this time and time again.
Because we don't know what we're doing. The whole country built on propaganda. The whole country that invented the best propaganda with starting with Bernays and the rest. And it's not Bernays.
It's Bernays. Bernays
is the sauce. Well, anyway, so Bernays. And but the Russians apparently know more about it than we. They've never been good at it. Even when they were in their heyday in the 50s and 60s, it was all cornball stuff. The red poster with somebody sticking their fist in the air and all that sort of thing. It's like, come on.
So the first,
but okay. I'm sorry.
Well, no. That's it's right on. I mean, I saved these guys' names. Hold on, let me just check for a second because I knew that we would be talking about these witnesses because it's very interesting when you find out who they are. So the first one is Michael Lumpkin, and
sounds right.
Do you know him?
No.
Okay, Michael D. Lumpkin. I'll tell you about his background.
Just the name itself.
Former naval officer and businessman who served as the special envoy, coordinator of the Global Engagement Center at the U.S. Department of State. Up until 2017, so he's, spook, yes. Considered an experienced crisis manager and turnaround expert. Check it out. Prior to his current role overhauling U.S. government efforts to disrupt extremist propaganda, he led the Department of Defense response to the Ebola crisis. This guy's a propagandist of the top order. If that guy was running the Ebola crisis from a communication standpoint, he did a good job.
Well, it depends on what a good job is.
We were all frightened, and a lot of money was made available. It got stuck in Congress, but still, I think he did his job. He had his military career after graduating from college. He joined the U.S. Navy.
What college?
I'd have to. Well, I could go to the actual page. I'm using my
university.
I'm using my abbreviated version. Doesn't say, interestingly. University of California, San Diego. Master's degree.
La Jolla.
Master's degree in National Security Affairs. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? You can get a master's degree from University of California in La Jolla? That's interesting. I didn't know that.
I don't know. Oh, no, he got that. No. So subsequently earned his master's degree in National Security from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey.
Monterey. Okay.
Okay, so here he is. And remember, this is about getting more money for propaganda against anything, really. But, of course, we have to bring the Russians into this because they are the masters. But let's talk about how incredibly good the messaging and marketing is when it comes to ISIS.
As I look at ISIS...
I thought that was interesting. He says ISIS. He says ISIS right after it, but...
Nobody says ISIS, but okay.
I know. Why would he be? Is this something that we need to be on top of?
I think he was just caught off guard. I don't know.
Look at ISIS. If I look at ISIS and I see how they recruit and who they recruit, when they're recruiting from abroad, they're generally going after vulnerable populations. The way I kind of do the math is there's about 7.5 billion people on the planet. Okay, at the height of ISIS, there was about 30,000 of them. 30,000 people. We know how many people have been killed, how many people have been wounded, and how many people have defected from the battlefield, plus or minus. Which leads us to a number of between 9 and 19,000 that join this organization per year. So when I simplify it like that, and I look at, so we have 7.5 billion people being held hostage by 9 to 19,000 recruits every year. That is, in order to find those people, we have to use scalpel-like messages that resonate with those individuals.
Now, this is great because this is stuff we actually know about. We know how to message. We use, especially, you know how to communicate. You've made studies of making people be effective based upon things that are written. We understand this.
Yes.
Good.
Instead of just going after one broad of it, there's Islamic messages, because people join ISIS for different reasons. The best study I've seen was done by the group called Quantum out of Lebanon, which basically binned those people who joined ISIS into 9 different bins, everything from death seekers to thrill seekers. Some are hardcore fundamentalists, some are looking for redemption. But each one of those groups, when you understand the recruit and you understand the audience, you have to target why they joined, and you have to come up with messaging strategies against each and every one of those groups. I will tell you, in 2015, the U.S. government did a single kinetic strike against a high-value target that cost the U.S. taxpayers, when you look at the intelligence gathering before and after the strike, was about $250 million, that had about 2 weeks of difference or impact on the battlefield to take out one high-value target. That same year, in messaging, we spent about $5.6 million in base funding. So we have a discrepancy in where we want to put our money.
That's right. More money for me. More money for me to propagandize. We need scalpel-like precision. I can't wait to see. Next person.
You know, just to interrupt, it's not just the message, it's getting the message to the person. That's the real problem.
No, it's not. We just drop pamphlets like we did in Vietnam.
Yeah, that'll do it. That stopped the war in Vietnam dead.
Just tweet. We'll just tweet. Isn't that what he's saying?
He's pretty much saying we should just tweet better. But doesn't work. I mean, I could go on and on about the effectiveness of Twitter being very minimal, especially as the service gets older and older. I mean, when it first started out, you could track your tweets to, like you say, well, look at this, and you give a link, and then you could get the numbers back and how many people actually clicked on that link.
Oh, yeah, you can still do that. You can do that.
Yeah, you can, and the numbers are ludicrous. Yeah. It's like you used to be able to get, I don't know, 10 or 20% of your people that are following you to click. Now it's you get 1 or 2%. It's a miracle. Getting the message to these kids that are in these different 9 bins is not even possible.
But it seems if we have enough money, we'll be able to do it.
I don't know. Even that bomb strike, $250 million. What if you could get a message to the guy saying, we'll give you $1 million to save $249 million?
Yeah, right.
If you just get off the battlefield right now,
goodbye.
Prove it.
Here's your money. Goodbye. The next witness is Matthew Armstrong. And he, from August 2013 through December 2016, was a governor on the Broadcast Board of Governors.
Oh, your buddies.
Yeah, this is the big propaganda arm of the United States, of Gitmo Nation. This is where the Voice of America comes from. Isn't there Voice of Russia? There's all these propaganda outlets. The guys who, thanks to the repeal of Smith-Mundt, now can propagandize Americans as well. But it's not about that, no. Now, of course, this is about RT, because RT is so good. And there's not just one RT. John, there's many RTs.
Yes, there are.
Many, many RTs.
There are other RTs operating in the U.S. Can you describe them, list them?
Sure, thank you. So you have RT, you have Sputnik, you have Rupley. And then I think you have them feeding other entities. Oh, yeah. InfoWars comes to mind, where those are echo chambers.
Of course, the Broadcast Board of Governor guy would throw that out there. He's probably jealous, like, crap, man, I wish we had an outfit like InfoWars to do our bidding for us. Hello, I'm raising my hand. No Agenda Show is ready for your money. We'll take your $5 million.
That'd be nice.
Feeding other entities. InfoWars comes to mind, where those are.
We call ourselves Niet Agenda.
Echo chambers for those modalities.
That's a good one.
I would suspect that you have a variety of other groups. There was a project I was looking at with some colleagues. We were looking at vkontakty, the social media site, the Russian social media site, where American white supremacists were flocking to VK because social media sites in the U.S. like Facebook were kicking them off. And what we found was it appeared that American white supremacists were happily involved in discussions there, and there were very Russian, not cloaked, but Russian actors in those spaces as well.
Not cloaked, not cloaked.
So I think this is another insidious way of spinning or getting into the conversation. So I think besides these larger organizations, there is a lot of stuff that they are doing on the margins.
Are Chinese efforts in any way comparable to this?
I think the Chinese are more sophisticated. RT.
Wait, hold on. Stop.
Stopped.
So we start with the premise that these Russians are the world's greatest propagandists. And even though we know that's not true because we are.
We are, yes.
And now somehow, out of the blue, the Chinese are more sophisticated than the Russians? Wait a minute. The Chinese who can't even develop a brand name for any of their products?
I'm going to stop you there. Wait for the whole clip because he means something a little different. Your argument is still good, but just hold on for what he's trying to say.
I think the Chinese are more sophisticated. RT is willing to play on the margins and play at the extremes, and China is a much more sophisticated actor. They are, I think if you want to compare which one lies more, which one distorts the truth more, I think RT's slogan of question more fits them because they don't want you to find an answer. They just want you to be confused. And CCTV is a much more intellectual, and they're trying to push the Chinese view. But I think they do tend to be a more professional operation. But so I wouldn't equate them per se on the same level. I don't think that either of them are particularly good for the American market.
Spoken like a true television professional. Their programming sucks. Isn't it really not appropriate? That's right. The Curry DeVara Consulting Group is available for you. All the RTs who want to learn how to do it will show you. Now, the final clip, and this is
by the way, I should mention that he is this expert is still calling it CCTV when it's really CGNT now. It's like, it's like KGB, FSB. You want to kind of keep up with what they call themselves.
Right. Well, you don't actually think this guy was there for any other reason than to help them.
No, of course not. I'm just
to help them get more money. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Right, onward.
Now, the last clip, this guy is slow, and I considered chopping out a lot more than I already did, but I didn't. So it's a little longer than the other two. This is Timothy Thomas. He's the professor. This is the guy. I have his bio.
Oh, so he's thoughtful, so he has to be slow.
Oh, my God. The guy is like watching paint dry. Hold on a second. Tim Thomas. Yeah, Timothy Thomas. He is from senior analyst at the Foreign Military Studies Office at Fort Leavenworth. Conducts extensive research and publishing in the areas of peacekeeping, information war. This was, by the way, the title was Information War. Psychological operations, low-intensity conflict, and political military affairs. Low-intensity conflict. I like that a lot. Don't make me do some low-intensity conflict. Let's see. He is adjunct professor, U.S. Army's Eurasian Institute, adjunct lecturer, U.S. Air Force Special Operations School. Guy's been around. But he's the prof. He's the professor. And he is going to explain to us exactly what's going on.
Propaganda is usually associated with emotional content. It varies from what you might call the disinformation aspect, which is designed to focus more on the logic of decision making. So what you will have as a combination of these two.
I heard you ring the bell. I like that too. I just like hearing him lay it out so simply. And he takes it a step further.
What you will have as a combination of these two, the emotional aspect is aimed, I believe, more at the population of the country, whereas the disinformation aspect is aimed more at decision makers within the EU or NATO. The final goal would be clearly to disrupt or destroy the relationships among NATO and members of the EU. Back in 1946, George Kennan noted that Russians do not believe in objective truth. If you fast forward ahead to about 2014 and you listen to some of their commentators like Dmitry Kiselyov noted that objectivity is a myth being imposed upon us. So what you have within the Russian information domain, if you want to call it that.
No, I really wouldn't want to.
Is no real truth. You just have the ability to create an alternate reality, which doesn't coincide at all with the Western understanding of information and a free press. Perhaps the best example of that was the downing of the Malaysia airliner. Immediately, we had our own understanding of what had happened.
By the way, the guy is completely off base on this analysis of MH17. We know a lot more about it than he does, if you listen.
Understanding of what had happened. We had the intercepts. We had the images.
No, we didn't have intercept. We had an intercept that was supposedly a couple of guys drinking beer, being drunk. Like, yeah, did you shoot it off? I don't know.
Of the air defense platform leaving the area.
Oh, yeah, that was the Bellingcat picture above a street corner where this thing was driving by. And then now all of a sudden we have photographic evidence here of the installation leaving the scene of the crime.
Had the images.
Well, I think you're being harsh, because I'm pretty sure he's going to now discuss the information that was found in the black box, which they have, that will carefully describe what happened, because that seems to me that will clear things up, right?
Right? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Intercepts. We had the images of the air defense platform leaving the area. Yet for the next 3 or 4 years, we listened incessantly to Russian alternate views of what had happened, with the last one coming the day before the Netherlands released their report. They attempted to create an alternate reality. This seems to be the focus of the propaganda effort there as they study us and they study audience behavior. Thank you.
Came from the alternate universe.
So I'm seeing a trend here, which I think we'll come back to later, that the rift, the split in the alternate universe that we have identified very early. We identified this very early on the show. This has happened, and I have some thoughts about how that works. Now it's the Russians' fault, you see, because the alternate reality is created by Russians who have no objective sense of reality. They don't understand the truth. And of course, Donald Trump, is up Putin's butt, and therefore he is creating an alternate reality. And it's everywhere.
Welcome to you all. And Chris Jansing, a question that I mean to ask seriously. Is it as striking to you in the briefing room as it is to television viewers that an alternative universe is being proposed, alternative definitions are being trotted out in real time?
Coming from Brian Williams, that's a phenomenal statement. You mean the alternate reality of you being shot down in a helicopter? That one? And I love this is a serious question.
Welcome to you all. And Chris Jansing, a question that I mean to ask seriously. Is
there an alternative universe?
Yeah, he's part of it. Wow, that's a great one. Yeah. That's borderline something.
Well, okay, I'll turn it off. Well, I have one last one, which was pointed out to me because I don't listen. Rush Limbaugh, catching on our wave of the alternate reality, he has a different take on it.
Well, I'm going to throw out the distinct possibility that they didn't know what they had. They live in an alternate universe where reality does not intrude. They believe that Trump is not as rich as he's bragged. They have no evidence. They just believe it. Why? Because Trump is scum. They believe Trump worked with the Russians. Why? No evidence. Why? Because it's the only way Hillary could have lost. They believe that Trump actually doesn't have nearly as much money as he's bragged about, and the tax returns are going to prove it. and therefore...
Do you hear? I left this in. He sounds like he's going to throw up. Listen to this.
And the tax returns are going to prove it. And therefore...
He belched.
Trump's a scumbag, and he's lying, and he's this, and we know.
That was not good.
He swallowed a belch.
Okay.
Say to themselves. So they get this tax return, and it literally rocks them. Remember, their prejudice and their own bigotry will trump reality every day. That's why they engage in it. Reality is something they can't face. That's why they create all these fake aspects of their wonderful lives as liberals to mask. That's why they never campaign, for example, promising what they're really going to do. They'd never get elected. So it's quite possible they look at $150 million. He only paid $38 million. This guy is not paying his fair share. They might take a fair rate, but Trump should be paying $75 million.
So when you think about the alternate universe, alternate realities, I think it. But first of all, we know physicists have told many scientists, 98%, there's consensus that these things exist. But how does it work? And I think that this has been accelerated in facilitation by social media. For every person is a node. You're a node. You've got your own universe. You're the center of your own universe. And then when you see or when you connect, and it's not a big leap from the electronic wires through, what comes through your retina. I mean, it's all information flowing back and forth. You're connecting with other nodes. And with enough nodes, you create a reality. Some call it an echo chamber. But then it becomes real. And there's no better example in my mind than this bogus tax return that Rachel Maddow came up with. That, to me, proves the alternate universe theory.
I like this idea that you're incorporating networking theory with the social media, which is a personal network, but it also coincides with the electronic networks. That when you put enough of them together, you get a certain kind of
internet.
You get a certain, well, the internet's a good example. Yes, the internet, and I think that it associates with the echo chamber, which is exactly what creates this alternate universe, where people get to the point where they cannot even listen to our show. Correct. If they're they're stuck in you get stuck. I think you get stuck.
So here's what I'm seeing, and with this, and I'm sure lots of people heard about it. Rachel Maddow, big PR, tweeting, everyone in a tizzy about, we have Donald Trump's tax returns. Watch tonight. And she has had phenomenal ratings since the election. So she's a little bit full of herself. Now, what happened is they have a tax return, 2 pages, very simple. And it says he took some write-offs. He made $150 million, paid $38 million in taxes, which is a lot of money. Then it's pretty straightforward. But that's how, now we straddle. But when I straddle, I see they weren't played. They believe this is damning. This is what I'm trying to get across. And
this is very funny, what you're saying.
People, you have to understand, the MSNBC completely believes that what they have is damning evidence and great material, because they continue to talk about it. So if you think, oh man, Trump really played them, you're only in one universe.
I agree.
They clearly see it differently. So I just have 3 clips here. First, just to show you it was insane. So the handover between. I'll
tell you what. Before you play that, let's play the intro from CBS describing what happened, and then I think that'll strengthen your argument.
Oh, beautiful. Which clip is it?
Tax returns reported by CBS.
All right. Perfect. I love how this comes together.
We finally got a look today at one of the Trump tax returns the president refuses to release. Someone leaked it. Major Garrett traveled with Mr. Trump to Nashville.
And it's certainly not an embarrassing tax return at all.
President Trump today denounced the leak of part of his 2005 federal tax return. The 2-page summary shows he and wife Melania earned $153 million that year and paid $36.6 million in income tax, an apparent tax rate of 24%.
That's incorrect, because he had prepaid 36, and he had to pay an additional $2 million. So their reporting is wrong. It's just wrong. I mean, it's right there. I know how to read a tax return.
4%.
I have no idea where they got it, but it's illegal. And you're not supposed to have it, and it's not supposed to be leaked.
The White House confirmed the numbers just before they were reported on MSNBC by David K. Johnston, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and Trump biographer. Johnston said the documents arrived in his mailbox anonymously.
By the way, let me point out it's entirely possible that Donald sent this to me.
In a statement, the White House said Mr. Trump had a responsibility to his company, his family, and his employees to pay no more tax than legally required.
I believe that most of us here have paid a lot more federal income taxes than Donald Trump has paid.
During the presidential campaign, Democrat Hillary Clinton accused Mr. Trump of not paying any federal income taxes. The president's son, Donald Jr., wrote the new disclosure proved how successful Donald Trump is and that he paid $40 million in taxes. But the document does not explain how the president earned his income or if he paid taxes at similar rates in other years.
Did they really expect this to be on the tax return? Like all the sources of it? You don't have to report that. Are they idiots?
There should be some 1099s or something.
In January, then President-elect Trump balked at calls to release his tax returns, something all presidents have done since the 1970s.
Well, I'm not releasing the tax returns because, as you know, they're under audit. You know, the only one that cares about my tax returns are the reporters, okay? They're the only ones.
According to a late February CBS News poll, reporters are not the only ones. 56% of Americans said it was necessary for the president to release his tax returns. And Anthony, nothing in federal law prohibits anyone under audit from voluntarily releasing his or her tax returns.
So this is CBS, who has
Hold on.
Hello, Donald. It is Vlad. I have your 1099 here. Where do I send it? Do I send it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, or where do I send it? Your 1099, Donald. What do you want?
You send it to the Trump Tower.
Okay. So the CBS, besides their numbers were off, 30, 36, 40. What is happening, which I will demonstrate in this little collage.
Well, I also want to mention, this is from 2005. This is 11 years ago.
Oh, that's not even being discussed how old it is. That's the crazy thing.
I'm stunned by that.
In neither universe. Neither.
There's two things that were not discussed. One, it says there's a stamp on there that says client
privilege.
Copy.
Client copy, yes.
And then this thing is from 2005. Who cares? And then there's this debate about whether you already made the money, this and that. It's just, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. This is worse than just a publicity stunt. It's just beyond me how anyone doesn't
straddle, baby. Come on, straddle with me.
All right, I'm all ears. Go.
You straddling? So even before, oh my goodness. MSNBC I did a little collage here of MSNBC. So happy throughout the whole day.
And this morning, we're also learning more about Donald Trump's taxes. The president refused to release them throughout the campaign and throughout his administration. But last night, Rachel Maddow revealed 2 pages of his 1040 form from 2005.
Your reaction to the disclosure of just 2 pages last night from 2005 that showed Donald Trump made a lot of money that year and, in fact, paid a lot of taxes. What's your reaction to that disclosure?
There are 2 major stories that have Washington abuzz this morning. One is on Donald Trump's taxes. An exclusive report from MSNBC has revealed 2 pages from his 2005 return.
Breaking news overnight, Donald Trump's taxes. In case you forgot about them, MSNBC first to reveal a portion of the president's 2005 return.
Covering another story that's bubbling this morning, of course, that leaked Trump tax return summary.
Breaking overnight on the Rachel Maddow Show, the first 2 pages of Donald Trump's 2005 personal tax return revealed. What we learned and what we still don't know.
Tax time. After the leak of part of the president's 2005 tax return, Trump goes on offense. But will the public ever see more than these 2 pages?
So this is after this whole fiasco in the right universe, not in as incorrect, but in the right-hand side. And they just keep going because they are they're not straddling. They are firmly in the left universe, and they think it's great, and they have all kinds of little nuggets they've dug up to make Trump look bad with even these 2 pages. But first, let's start with the excitement, the anticipation, the handover from lesbian Hayes to lesbian Maddow.
Been a little bit of a hullabaloo around here this evening. I apologize for being a little flustered.
People literally were tweeting at me, "Shut up, get to Rachel."
Well, you can't before 9 o'clock because I'm not sitting here
I wanted to respond. Okay.
until 8:59:58.
I'm going to go watch.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. And thanks to you at home for joining us for the next hour. You may have heard we've got some significant breaking news tonight. Donald Trump's tax returns.
The presses.
That's pretty much what she's saying.
Have surfaced at least a portion of Donald Trump's past tax returns. What we have tonight has been turned over to a reporter. These are returns for 1 year. It's a federal return. This is the first time we believe any federal tax returns for Donald Trump have been obtained by anyone, certainly by any news organization, since he became a presidential candidate, let alone president. I want to tell you that the way we got this document, the way we got this Trump tax return is through David K. Johnston.
Which is a big cover your ass. This guy's going to be toast. We'll get to him in a moment.
David K. Johnston is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist. He's a specialist on tax issues and on financial reporting. David K. Johnston and his reporting shop, dcreport.org, that's who obtained this return. And tonight, we have this exclusive first look at their reporting at what they have obtained.
Right after this break, she teased the whole thing for an hour, and it was well done because you kept saying, okay, let's go. And there's another tease.
That's why presidents release their tax returns. That's why there will continue to be unrelenting pressure to find Donald Trump's tax returns, to expose Donald Trump's tax returns. And that pressure will remain every single day that he remains as president.
Ooh, fighting words.
Unless and until he releases them, the pressure will never let up.
Never let up. Wait, you know, we should spin her down with that. What a threat. Let me see if we can spin her down.
That's why presidents release their tax returns. That's why there will continue to be unrelenting pressure to find Donald Trump's tax returns.
To expose.
Doesn't work as well I thought it would. Anyway, and of course she takes that right up to the break once again.
Has decided to leak a portion of his 2005 tax return, which is how and why we got it tonight. And I am sure it is only the start, but it's a start. And our little piece of it, we just got it. We'll go through it next.
Next, that's right. Another commercial break.
How many times is she going to tease this thing before she gets to it?
Well, I only have one more clip.
She teased it the whole show. Basically, you're telling me that this particular show, I didn't see it.
I did.
This particular show was just this one item?
Oh, yeah.
The whole show?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Now, here she does something.
What? How starved for entertainment are her viewers?
She's also a bigoted bitch.
Well,
she's an anti-Semite. Listen.
And in terms of what's on here, let me give you the basics. Aside from the numbers being large, these pages are straightforward. He paid $38 million, looks like $38 million in taxes. He took a big write-down of $103 million. More on that later. If you add up the lines for income, he made more than $150 million in that year. Mazel tov.
All right. Rachel Maddow is Catholic. Donald Trump is not a Jew. So when you say you made a lot of money, mazel tov, you're fucking anti-Semite, Rachel Maddow bitch. Can't even say her name. That's outrageous. That's outrageous.
Yeah, to you, I don't think so. I'm in that universe now. I'm straddling.
Okay. Well, I think you say mazel tov. Like, hey.
He took a big write-down of $103 million. More on that later. If you add up the lines for income, he made more than $150 million in that year. Mazel tov.
Oh, God. I hate it. I do like that I came up with Rachel Maddow. That's a new one.
Michael Savage has been using it for weeks.
You're kidding me. Oh, well, that's no good. Okay, now let's talk about...
And he went out of the way. He went out of the way not to say mad cow, which is another one people use.
Now let's talk about this guy, David K. Johnston. Pulitzer Prize winning David J. Yeah, he has a website, DC Report. Let me just see if it's dcreport.org. Where is it? Yeah, David K. Johnston. He received in 2001 winner of the Pulitzer Prize for beat reporting. Now, is that still a Pulitzer Prize? That's still valid? That's still a good award, John?
It's a beat reporting. I didn't even know they gave those for beat reporting. In other words, he had a beat and he did such a good job, like police or City Hall or whatever his beat was. He did such a good job cumulatively that they gave him a Pulitzer. What publication was that for? Had to be one of the big four.
I don't know. He did write for New York Times for a while.
It's probably the New York Times.
So DCReport.org is his website, and his whole idea here is to raise money. This is now a nonprofit. As he says here, David, for now, is working pro bono. No salary until we raise enough money to do the kind of job needed to make Washington truly accountable to the people. We will also
he's trying to do an intercept.
Completely. We will also seek support from foundations and other major funders, of course. Hello, Pierre Omidyar, drive my car. Can you please give me some money? If you're interested in supporting tough, fair, and fearless journalism that focuses on what the administration and Congress do rather than what they say, please email David and send a generous tax-deductible donation. I checked. DC Report is registered, but only recently because there's no other documents available online. David K. Johnson. This guy's a dick. Not because of what he did, but he's just a horrible man. And he made the rounds everywhere after Maddow. Here he is on Good Morning America.
Big question now is, you just got 2 pages from 2005. What doesn't this show?
Well, it doesn't tell us who Trump is beholden to. I mean, we know, for example, that he owes money to Deutsche Bank, which is deeply involved in money laundering for the Russians. He owes money to the Communist Bank in China, the Bank of China, which is also the largest tenant in Trump Tower. We have a U.S. president who's
Who is this? This is who?
This is the guy who gave the report to Maddow saying that it just showed up in his mailbox.
That's him talking?
Yes, this is the guy.
He sounds just like Carl Bernstein.
He's probably of the same age range, but he's an odd guy. And by the way,
using the Communist Bank, give me a break.
He says a lot of crazy stuff, this guy. You really got to question. Well, his motives are clearly to get an intercept going. He wants money, and that's why he gave Rachel the exclusive and then went on every show he could to show off his prowess as a. And you'll see what a Pulitzer Prize winning guy this is.
In China, the Bank of China, which is also the largest tenant in Trump Tower. We have a U.S. president who's in hock to a bank in China. We don't know who he's getting his revenue from. We don't know who his partners are or who he's done business with in foreign countries.
Do we know that from Michael Bloomberg, any of these people? No.
And that could have major national security implications.
We do now know that this audit excuse that the president said is no real reason not to release.
Absolutely nonsense.
His tax return. So and now we've seen 1995 and 2005. These 2005 returns are certainly not scandalous in any way from what we know of what was released. So what is he trying to hide in your view? You've covered him for a long time.
I don't think he wants us to know all the people he's done business with, both those he's beholden to and those he receives income from. But there actually is something in here that I think is very important, George. One of the key elements of Donald Trump's tax plan is getting rid of the alternative minimum tax. You and I and everybody else who's prosperous in America is on the alternative minimum tax. If that tax hadn't existed, Donald Trump would have paid a tax rate on his $153 million.
Here we go.
Lower than the average paid by the poorest half of Americans.
Here's the guy trying to make his turd burger into something useful. Oh, you see, he's trying to get the alternative minimum tax taken away, so that's going to benefit him and his buddies.
So you're saying,
and me,
based on this 2005 tax return, the Donald Trump tax proposal now would give a big benefit to Donald Trump.
An enormous benefit to him, and if you put that across a lot of people, it would have also caused serious problems for us in doing all the things government needs to do.
Think this will spring more leaks?
I hope so.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, spring more leaks. Okay. Now he says something that I think you'll be able to comment on. Here he is on CNN.
They did have their game together in uncharacteristic fashion here. When they found out that this was coming out, they put out a response that nailed exactly how to play this, and they don't always do that.
Actually, they behave pretty unethically for people in the White House press office, because I sent them the document. And they proceeded then to give out the information in it to competing news organizations. Professional PR people don't do things like that. I've never had a White House, and my experience goes back 50 years, do something like that.
So what I understand
is... What? What are you talking about?
What I understand is he's pissed off that he said, hey, I'm going on Rachel Maddow. Here's the document I'll be discussing. And then the White House apparently sent out that document with a statement to other news organizations, which this guy calls unethical and unprofessional because, of course, it ruined his scoop. That's my take from what he's saying.
Okay. You want my comment on this, I bet?
Yeah.
Unless it was pre-agreed to, unless he said, here, I'm going to give you something, it's under embargo or it's under non-disclosure. If he had something to sign, they usually don't do that in the media, although I've seen it. Or you say something that this is off the record. Yeah, you have to make that clear when you go either way, whether it's going one way or the other. And when it's made clear, you either accept it or you don't accept it, and you do it in advance.
So he's all
you don't give somebody a big treasure trove of stuff and just expect them to keep it to themselves? What, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's all bent out of shape about it. Oh, they're so unethical. It's unethical, you see.
I think he was... I wonder if he was just doing that for just a showboat.
Well, this next and final clip of one of his appearances in the morning on NBC with Rachel Maddow there with a yellow highlighter going through the document as he's talking. And he says something under his breath at the end of the clip. You have to listen for it. And Rachel actually calls him out on it, but it shows you what kind of quality this guy is. Cute.
And one of the straightforward lines here that's kind of interesting is number 7, where he talks about he has wages and salary income, which is unusual for someone in his case. It's about $1 million, and it could be hers. His wife was a model. She's on here, but she was never at that league of that business. But that could be his television income could have been.
Did you hear it at the end what he says?
It's a television income could be something.
Yeah. So it's it's income, and then the guy O'Donnell says, well, maybe that's Melania. No, it couldn't be because she wasn't in that league of $1 million. Then the guy says, well, she's probably doing sleazy porn on the internet. Listen again.
She's on here, but she was never at that league of that business. But that could be his television income could have been.
Kind of hard to hear.
Hey.
Rachel Maddow goes, hey, that's Rachel.
But who said that?
The dude, that K Johnson guy, said, oh, she'd probably do sleazy porn on the internet if she couldn't be a high top model.
Huh. Wow.
Tells you something about the guy, huh? Douche.
Well, yeah, I just couldn't tell who the originator is. Was there a third person there?
No, it was just O'Donnell, that guy, and then Rachel was going, hey, don't say that.
Play it again, just because it could have been O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. I'll play it again. Hold on. Gladly play it again.
And the age, which is unusual for someone in his case, it's about $1 million, and it could be hers. His wife was a model. She's on here, but she was never at that league of that business. But that could be his television income could have been
muddled.
Yeah, it's muddled. But if you see it, then you can see his lips moving as he says it. For what that's worth. Anyway, this whole
it is pretty lowbrow.
That's tip. This is what this kind of guy this guy is. Meanwhile, Schiff again, ground zero of all things, impeached Trump for collusion with the Russians.
I think Schiff. I think I always see Schiff so much. I think Schiff has a PR woman that's booking him. He's getting booked way too much.
Well, he didn't do a good job on this. Seems like he's backpedaling.
Well, I was surprised to see the director state that so categorically. And I think, here's where we are in the investigation, George. And obviously I can't talk about particular evidence. But it's not unlike the 9/11 investigation where you had a joint inquiry in that case and an independent commission. They were looking at who was responsible. And obviously it was al-Qaeda responsible. But they were also looking at whether the Saudi government, to use parallel terms, colluded or had some kind of coordination or involvement in the attack on.
And he conveniently forgets to mention that they hid that from the public for 16 years.
9/11. Now, at the end of their investigation, they found some circumstantial evidence that indicated that may be true, but they couldn't corroborate it. I wouldn't want to reach a conclusion at the.
So they couldn't corroborate it, so they hid it. The 28 pages. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do, Schiff.
They couldn't corroborate it. I wouldn't want to reach a conclusion at the outset of our investigation as to whether we're going to be able to demonstrate collusion. Maybe we will, and maybe we won't. Maybe it existed, and maybe it didn't. But I do think it's our obligation to do everything possible in as nonpartisan a basis as possible to answer those very important questions. And I wouldn't start out by concluding one way or the other.
Yeah,
I think if the evidence develops that one of the Russian tactics, and this was suggested, of course, in that dossier, is to financially entangle people as a way of exerting influence, if the evidence leads in that direction, then his tax returns will be pertinent to our investigation. But again, I think we try to develop the evidence, we follow that evidence where it leads, and not leave to any conclusions on the front end.
Oh, what happened to follow the facts?
I think Comey killed all that stuff.
Died big time. I mean, bigly, yes.
Bigly.
And then finally, as was alluded to in your clip, this, of course, is illegal to do this type of thing by publishing someone's tax return.
I mean, the disclosure of tax return information or the tax return itself.
This is a chief counsel who worked with IRS.
From, for instance, an IRS source is a violation of not only the criminal code 7213, but also is a direct violation of the Internal Revenue Manual. I was a lawyer with the Office of Chief Counsel for the Internal Revenue Service. The IRS was our client, and we were instructed and had to sign documents that you could not disclose taxpayer information. So the release of taxpayer information here, Donald Trump's taxpayer information, if it came from the IRS or somebody that was formerly with the IRS, that is a felony.
Well, like, I guess it could have come from a bank, but wouldn't that be illegal too if somebody's releasing somebody's taxes?
So sure, if they got it from a source and then released it knowing that, that would be a violation as well. And
would it be a violation by NBC, or would it be a violation of the person that leaked it?
So I looked at that, Sean, because what NBC would assert, and Rachel Maddow did assert this, that this was protected by the First Amendment. But it depends upon the way in which, if it was solicited, for instance, by the reporter, that is not protected speech.
Ah.
Okay. Well, it wasn't that we know of. I think, by the way, my opinion is Trump slipped it in there to just make fools of these people. I think Trump knew that guy.
That is certainly what one universe is saying. Actually, both universes agree on this, now that I think about it.
I've noticed this, too, that both universes, or at least part of those universes agree on it, which is that Trump is an old tax return. It's dumb. It's so old.
Yeah.
And it's got no attachments. You don't have anything on there, just the 2 pages, which is useless as far as I'm concerned, if you're trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And so it's just this thing, you toss it in there and give it, the guy's address, or somebody does. You send it, you slip it to him, slip it in the box, and let them go nuts. And they did. They went nuts. Like, this was some big deal. I just don't get it. It's just like, okay, some guy's tax return. And then I think you have this threat of legal action, which is just that's going to go nowhere.
No, there is another theory as to why Trump would have leaked this. He would have leaked this particular year, and this is where this first started, but it's a copy and paste on the face bag. Because in 2005, Trump married a non-citizen. And why that matters is that as her sponsor and joint filer, their joint returns were required to be made available to the federal government in order for her to remain here on a green card. And again, to get her citizenship, you have to show that you have no problems with the IRS to become naturalized. Now, having gone through this process 2 times, I can clearly say bullshit. This is total crap.
Yeah, it sounds like crap.
It's total crap. You have to show that you have income, and you show that with your, I think, 2 or 3 years of tax returns. But they're not going there and to say, oh, let me see if he's got money from the Russians. No. So it had to be squeaky clean. No, also not true. You can be poor. Still have an income, but be poor, and you can still petition to have someone, certainly if you've married someone, to get their green card. It's bull crap.
Yeah, well, these things come up. We're done with this?
Yeah, thanks for the applause.
Good, because before we take our next break,
Thanks, Obama.
Before we take the next break, I have 2 pertinent clips to play back to back.
All right.
Which I think will be ideal.
All right.
And one of them is interesting because it's like, why is this what's going on here with this Monsanto negative report.
For years, the chemical company Monsanto has fought back against lawsuits claiming the weed killer Roundup can cause cancer. But documents made public by a federal judge could change everything. Here's Mireya Villarreal.
Okay, good. Yolanda Mendoza makes the most of time spent with her children after battling stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for more than a year.
I have nerve damage. I don't feel my tips of my fingers, my jaw. I still can't feel it.
Mendoza blames glyphosate, the main chemical ingredient in the weed killer Roundup, which she used on her lawn every weekend.
I had a backpack that held 2 gallons of water. I would strap it on and I would walk around spraying.
Mendoza is one of hundreds of people around the country suing Monsanto, Roundup's parent company. Their lawyers cite this 2015 World Health Organization study that says glyphosate is probably carcinogenic and damages DNA in human cells.
The data that they look at, they cherry pick it.
Last summer, we spoke with Dr. Donna Farmer, a Monsanto scientist.
There is no data indicating that we should change any recommendations on how this product should be used. Glyphosate, the data is clear, doesn't cause cancer.
But now the data is in question. Newly released court documents in a federal lawsuit suggest Monsanto planned to ghostwrite a positive report on glyphosate and get experts to back it up. A scientist wrote in an email, "We would be keeping the cost down by us doing the writing, and they would just edit and sign their names." Court documents also reveal conversations between Monsanto executives and an EPA director about a federal glyphosate review. "I doubt EPA and just can kill this," the Monsanto executive wrote, "but it's good to know that they are going to actually make the effort." In a statement, Monsanto says these allegations are false. Monsanto scientists did not ghostwrite the paper, reiterating no regulatory body in the world considers glyphosate to be a carcinogen. But Anthony, here in California, this label could soon change and include a warning about cancer after another federal court ruling.
So there's a merger going on with Monsanto and Bayer.
Yeah, it's a big one, too.
A monster. And I'm thinking, well, somebody must have dropped the ball on advertising. And so CBS does this to them for that reason.
Oops, sorry.
And I kind of like the idea of being aggressive about this, but I don't think it was pointed out so aggressively as it was on Conan.
Yeah.
This is Conan discussing, he got into a conversation with an audience member, and I just thought this was one of the most, he's going to get in trouble for this, one of the most honest things you could probably do if you're a comedian and think you're not going to get in trouble.
So you've been to Carl's Jr. and you didn't have a good experience. Is that what you're saying?
You didn't care for it.
You didn't care for it. Okay. I love that. I'm just going to go with this. Have you been to Carl's Jr. more than once or just one time? Just once. And the burger was so bad you never went back.
I couldn't get through it.
You couldn't eat the whole burger? This is fascinating. I don't think we're going to have time for Adam Sandler tonight because I have got it. I'm sorry. There are priorities. There's Adam Sandler. And there's finding out about how this woman couldn't get through one Carl's Jr. burger. Sounds like a bad burger to me. Unless they advertise.
Well, shall we hit it?
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
King of the segues, I tell you.
And we do not advertise, or we don't accept advertising because you have to be honest.
As someone sent me a note the other day, like the MSM is taking down all the YouTubers who are, off message. MSM is taking them down. Look at PewDiePie. I'm like, no, dude. It's not about the MSM taking them down. Google. You cannot rely on someone's advertising infrastructure. If you want to rely on advertising, okay, but then rely on the big Google's advertising infrastructure, on their hosting infrastructure? Come on. Get a clue, millennials. Learn how to set up a server. Learn. Get a Raspberry Pi. Tinker around a bit. Maybe grab a career on the way out.
Yeah. All right, so we do have a few people to thank for supporting us directly. without middlemen getting in the way, which is what happens to get in the way for show 912, starting with Peter Daniel. Well, oops, I got my little cursor on his name. DeJong. He's in Spuzum, BC, which is a long story. I think I told on the show before, my Spuzum story. $126. He's got a note he sent in because it was a check. Had Spuzum all over it. He says, my husband and I, is from Catherine, actually. Yeah, it's Catherine.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
No, that's Catherine and William Emery, probably.
Oh, okay.
The wrong note.
I got the wrong note. Let me just flip the page, and there it is. It's been a while since I contributed to the best podcast in the universe, but a short while ago, Mika reminded me that I need to stop the slide towards douchebaggery and support the independent media. In response to the prompt, here's a check for 3 times my normal amount.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the MSM so I don't have to. If we can get a John McCain laugh in there at the end, it would be great.
Yeah, we have some.
Anyway, so that's one of our guys who writes in. Mika Gafford in Jasper, Indiana.
Hold on a second.
It's my birthday.
Hold on. Okay, there it is.
I didn't even know we had that.
We got everything, baby.
Everything, baby.
Anything.
Mika Gafford in Jasper, Indiana, 102. It's my birthday, the 16th. Please call out Dexter as a douchebag. And include him for my birthday because the 16th is also his birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
he's on
douchebag and birthday. Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, well.
Anonymous douchebag, $99.99. Catherine and William Emery. These are the two in Highland, Illinois, that also sent a check and a note in, which I...
This is interesting. They sent in oh, no, I'm sorry. No, my mistake. I'll shut up.
And they sent in... my husband and I have been listening to your shows for a while. We've donated in the past, but it's been some time since we last donated. I thought it was about time. Love the boobs donations, coming from a woman, by the way, Catherine. So here's our boob donation via check. Screw PayPal. Also, happy birthday to all. This is why I wanted to read this. Get your pen out, because I did not send this to Eric.
Yep, I'm ready. Happy
birthday to William on 3/18. He turns 48.
Okay.
So 3/18, I guess, is
and that's
coming.
William Emery.
William Emery.
What was I going to say? Did you miss Anonymous Douchebag with $99.99?
No, I said $99.99, and you never played the thing.
No, I did. I missed it. Okay.
Benjamin Vinton Chapman, 75.
Thank you, Catherine and William.
Sir Callistra, 75. Zachary.
Hold on a second.
Yeah?
This is two of the same person twice. Seems like it.
Seems a joint donation. Oh, it's a joint donation.
Yeah, hold on.
75 each.
75 each from designer named Ben, Verdi Chapman, and Sir Callistra. Can we get a Just Send Your Cash and Karma for our startup Series B raise? Yeah, I think we should do that, John.
Send them a Karma for Series B?
Yeah, because they need they need money.
All right.
Let's do it.
We just need cash. I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.
There you go.
You've got karma.
All right. Good luck with your Series B, gentlemen.
We got Zachary Jarros. I think is the way you pronounce that. First time donor, he needs a de-douching. We can do that.
You've been de-douched.
We don't have a lot of donations today, so we're spending time with some of these smaller donations. So that's why we're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Havner in Noblesville, Indiana, 5510. Jay Kincaid, 5510. Ryan Shellnut in Shinola, Georgia. Senoia. Which reminds me, Shinola's on the list for stuff to talk about.
Shit in Shinola.
Yes, Shinola. Aaron Lambert, 5433, parts unknown. Christopher Trop, Sturgis, Michigan, 5412. He's always on Sturgis. Michael Kammerer in Bothell, Washington, 5319.
Also wants a de-douching. Hold on.
You've been de-douched.
Sean DeSantis in Fort Pierce, Florida, 50-50, and the rest of these are $50.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm just noticing this. There's an F cancer there. We don't want to skip that one.
Okay, let's go for it.
Can you just read it for me for a second? What does it say?
Yeah, ITM, will you send some F cancer karma at the end to Chris? And then it's all, I can't read it, something starts with an L. The Chris L family, they are fighting on multiple fronts. Always love the show. Multiple fronts. Not good.
You've got karma.
All right, there you go. Always trying to stop and help for that. It seems to work sometimes.
Well, let's hope.
Worth a try.
Chris Lewinsky in Sherwood Park, Alberta. This is $50 donors. Yeah. Name and location, 50. Sheila Damodaran in, looks like Hong Kong, $50. Dame Patricia Worthington in Miami. Amitav Hajra in Daleville, Virginia. Brandon Savoy in parts unknown. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma, one of my favorite town names. Trevor Hoagland in Portland, Oregon. Dame Angela Castaneda.
Yeah, she's our dame from Lost Wages who helps us with the tours.
And she says, my husband hit me in the mouth a few years ago, and I love him for that. Please wish my husband, Nelson, a happy birthday.
Yeah.
He turns 43 on the 15th.
He's on the list.
Mike Westerfield, parts unknown. Robert Drykosen in Oshkosh, B'gosh, Wisconsin. Charles Eves, parts unknown. Brian Noni in Smyrna, Georgia. John Holler in Missoula, Montana. And last but not least, Sir Jerry Wingenroth in Saugus, California. Yeah, that's $50. I want to thank all these folks for helping us on show 912.
And John Holler, somehow we missed his knighting. So he becomes a Black Knight today.
He does?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
He sent his notes to you multiple times. I forwarded multiple times. It never got through. There must have been something in there I've noticed with your email server. Is it like a bad word? Yeah, your thing scans on words. If the F word is in there, then it will get bounced back. Did you know that?
Well, I do know that the algorithms are being played with constantly.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
I get no spam.
The algos, that's right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your support of our show. Short list, but all support is welcomed. And, of course, we'd like you to think about us for our next show coming up on Sunday. And, of course, thanks to everybody who came in under $50, typically for reasons of anonymity. But also we have a lot of layaway programs, a lot of subscriptions you can get on. And I see people upping their subscriptions. It's highly appreciated. Again, another show coming up on Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
For those who need it.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Today we say happy birthday to Thomas Moser, turned 50 yesterday. Dean Calvin says happy birthday to his brother Don, turning 54. Micah Gafford, 16 today. And Micah, of course, celebrating with Dexter, the douchebag, also today. And he turns, I believe, 16 years old. Ryan Shellnut, happy birthday to baby Counts, born March 14th, a brand new human resource. Welcome to the universe. Michael Kemmer celebrates on the 19th. John Haller, you just heard him, defender of Montana. He'll be knighted in a moment. 73 years old on March 12th. We also forgot his birthday. Dame Angela Castaneda says happy birthday to her husband Nelson, 43 yesterday. Ben of the Apex says happy birthday to Aaron Durand, who celebrates his 18th birthday. And William Emery turns 48 on March 18th. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. Bam! Nailed it.
That was a few.
Yep. We have 3 knightings today, so this is good. Sword?
I'm getting it.
Finally. On the floor. I know. We need a scabbard attached to your chaise lounge. All right, Ben Hink, John Haller, Thomas Moser. Gentlemen, please step up here to the podium next to the lectern. We are very proud to bring you into the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames for your contribution in the amount of $1,000 or more. And therefore very proud to pronounce the Serven of the Apex, Black Knight, Defender of Montana. That's John Haller. And Sir Moser, the Moserian Knight of the 33rd Parallel. Gentlemen, for you, we've got Hookers and Blow, Rim Boys and Chardonnay, strong black coffee and chocolate chip cookies. We've got Cuban cigars and single malt scotch, porn stars and pot, vodka, vanilla bong, hits and bourbon, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and pablum. And, of course, mutton and mead. They're taken, ready for you. Just head on over to noagendanation.com/rings, and Eric the Shill will take care of it once you give him all of your information. And thank you for helping us deconstruct media twice a week.
Indeed.
And tweet out your pictures of your rings and stuff when you get it. We love that.
Yes, good for the show.
Yes.
I want a little. You want to hear a long clip that's kind of interesting, bad news, which maybe I want to do now or at the end of the show.
I don't like bad news at the end of the show.
No, I agree. I don't like it either, but sometimes it's all that's left.
I got a few things left, so if you want to do bad news and bum us all out.
Well, there's kind of it's not totally bad news. It's just interesting bad news. Okay. This is David Stockman on Fox going over. David Stockman's a perpetual bear, but he's going over all the reasons.
He's a finance guy.
Yeah, he used to be the budget director for, I think, Bush or one of these guys, or Reagan.
When you say bear, people don't understand what you're talking about.
Bear, yeah. Well, they should. Bear means that you think everything's going to be bad.
We're all going to die.
We're all going to die.
Especially the stock market.
Yes, this is David Stockman.
That's what mainstream Republicans who are worried about the health care law, all the way up to the Treasury Secretary of the United States about how much wiggle room is in the budget. To your point, not much. And they all poo-pooed you. What do you think of that?
Well, I think they're dead wrong. The countdown to crisis actually begins next Wednesday, March 15th. The Fed is going to raise interest rates. It's not going to stop 3 or 4 times this year. It has no choice. It's dithered for 99 months at the zero bound. It has to allow the market to normalize. Second, the debt ceiling freezes in at $20 trillion, and they're burning through cash at the Treasury like drunken sailors. I can't emphasize this enough, and I think the S&L guy, the savings and loan guy at the Treasury, has no idea what's happening in his own joint. In the first 46 days of the Trump administration, they burned through $294 billion of cash. They started with $382 billion. It's down to $88 billion. It's dropping by the day. At the rate they lost cash last year, between March and early June, they will be out of cash by Memorial Day. There is no reason to believe that will be any different this year.
Raise the debt ceiling. Don't we always just raise the debt ceiling?
Well, there is no pathway to a majority in the Congress that soon. They have declared war on the Democrats, and I guess they deserve it. But after all of the immigration ban, the walls at the border, the deportations, the attacks on Obama, and frankly, I think Trump was right. He was bugged. But the point is there are 0 Democrat votes for a debt ceiling increase right now. And in the bloodbath that's happening on Obamacare Light, which is a disaster in my view.
You're not encouraged by what they're coming up with.
I'm not encouraged, but what I'm saying, Neil, is that by May, the Republican Party is going to be in tatters. There will be no majority to raise the debt ceiling, and then the rubber will meet the road. They'll have to start all of these gimmicks, disinvesting from the trust fund and so forth. But
this guy, he every time he's on anything, it's just nonstop gloom and doom. It's actually quite funny.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting is the Fed raised the rates, and everyone went like, "Oh, okay." I even heard Andrew Horowitz going, Ides of March, we're all going to die. It's going to be there's rumors it's going to be horrible," and then nothing.
It went up.
Yeah, exactly. The market went up.
It went up. Now, which actually, it's what goes up will come down. Now, he doesn't discuss this little thing right now. He begins talking about these gimmicks, which may or may not take place. But I thought this was the only really fascinating part about it, because when you run out of money, you come up with all these schemes stretch your income. It's just quite interesting.
Gimmicks, disinvesting from the trust fund and so forth. But I've been in Washington a long time, and I know when that starts, the disinvesting and the gimmicks, it's a sign to everybody that the crisis is near. Everything
you
else...
can't grow out of it? You can't get a tax cut-related boom that can grow out of it?
No, you can't get a tax cut boom in 2 weeks or 5 weeks or 10 weeks. But
if the direction is down, if it creates enough activity that it starts going down.
No, I mean, there's no chance it's going down. The first quarter GDP is coming in at 1%. I mean, this whole little flurry of, bullish enthusiasm we've had in the stock market is meaningless once it's clear that the tax cuts aren't going to happen and this debt ceiling crisis is going to take down the whole system. Now, why did they allow $294 billion of cash to be burned up? Because I want to tell you something really important. Only $237 billion of that was to cover the inherited deficit that you can't blame Trump for. But he used $57 billion of cash to lower the debt ceiling.
I should have put the cardinal in here and not you, because you're.
Wait a minute. Explain that last part that he just said. What was he talking about?
I don't know I can't. I don't know what he's talking about. I think I've now come to the conclusion. I've listened to this 1, 2, 3 times. Now this is my third time because I had to record it, then I had to edit it, and then I had to listen to it again.
Yeah.
I'm now, and I've heard this guy a million times, I'm now concluding he's crazy. He's actually a madman. So disregard the entire clip.
I'm going to call it right now. Dow 23,000 by Trump's re-election bid.
Okay, well, that's a good sign if you're a short seller.
Well, we should short America. Can we do that? Is there a short we can
There's
short
probably
the
an
whole
ETF
country?
that kind of represents American interests.
Let's just short America. Short America, everybody. Come on. I dare you. Come on, shorters. Come on in.
All right, so that's my bad news clip.
Well,
sorry.
I have some bad news. Always looking for signs of depression. Always. We have the food, mac and cheese. We have adult coloring books. What else do we have on the list? Depression signs.
Yeah.
The small houses thing. Now, you and I were actually talking. I think it was after the show. We were talking about, maybe it was on the show, the big bubble that is popping now is retail. I think we did talk about it on the show. And malls. Malls are a real problem because, stores, the malls are for loitering. They're no longer for going to buy stuff. It's for the food court. And
loitering.
And I think I was talking to the former New York banker. That's it. And he told me that one of the big pushes now for malls is grocery stores. So Whole Foods and stuff like that.
That's unusual for malls.
But that's because they have to fill it up. The retail space is a problem.
Mall. There's different kinds of malls. We're talking about, I believe, the enclosed style of malls.
Not a strip mall. Not a strip mall.
Yeah, that have 2 or 3 of these anchor client tenants.
Yeah.
Macy's, Sears, JCPenney. Sears and JCPenney's are having trouble. So they're not even.
What is it? Ducks? Is it Ducks? Duck World? Ducks? The sporting goods store?
Well, there's the Bash shops, and then there's that other one starts with a C. The chat room will know. We don't have a Ducks Unlimited or whatever it's called in the West Coast. But there's the big ones are Macy's
Dick's.
Oh, Ducks. Dick's Sporting Goods.
Dick's Sporting Goods. Yeah. Notice I've never been in the store.
I'm not sure I see that more.
They're all over Texas malls. All over Texas malls.
Okay.
Yeah.
The indoor malls.
Yes, the indoor malls. Okay, but it's going to be food court for sure. Movie theaters, of course, they already started with that, and that's been going for a long time. So the food's going to expand, and the grocery shopping. And now in the oldest enclosed mall in America, because they just don't. Actually, their biggest problem is they have a lot of open common space, so not necessarily sellable or rentable retail space, and that's why you have those carts. I mean, the developers of malls are trying to get every single penny out of it. So they have a new idea, and it fits right in with the Depression.
This is the oldest indoor shopping mall in the country, that it wasn't the first, but it's the oldest one that still exists. And so, built in 1828. People talk about saving historic buildings, but often the only way to save them is to make them economically viable. How can you make this building economically viable when you have 50% common area? And the answer to that is you've got to get the most per square foot rent that you can get from the space that you are able to rent. I thought that by dividing the spaces, developers thinking per square foot costs, and people who live in space thinking what's the monthly cost. So 225 square feet on a per square foot basis, it might be expensive, but this is a $750 apartment. It's cheap.
This is my humble abode. So you can see it's pretty small, but it's really all you need for one person. It's an efficiency kitchen, which doesn't have a stove. So I bought my own toaster oven, which works well. So there are just a few cabinets. You don't need too many dishes here.
So what are you eating then if you don't have a oven?
Lots of canned soups, lean cuisines.
So she's in this 225 square foot apartment, which has, it doesn't even have a real kitchen. She bought a toaster oven and she's eating canned soup and lean cuisine. Yes.
So 10 feet by 21, 22
That's
feet.
About it. That's about it.
So that's about the size of this office I'm in.
Yeah.
And including the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then your kitchen consists of a toaster oven. And you got a bed. It's a studio apartment is what it amounts to. But even studios usually have a sink.
Well, she has a sink, but not a stove or anything to cook on. And she's eating chemicals. Nice. Salt and chemicals. It's the future.
Yeah, there's a big trend. I mean, the show Tiny Homes comes to mind, which is on House and Garden or one of those channels, obscure channels that has a big audience, surprisingly. They usually do better than MSNBC.
Yeah.
And the tiny homes thing is interesting because it's basically trailer living without the mobility.
Correct.
And it's very depressing to watch these people.
Try and make it sound great when you just look at it and go, man, that sucks.
Yes, exactly. In fact, that's what they do. They try to make it sound great, and the two of them are trying to convince each other. I don't know why they're doing this in the first place.
Well, money, because people are broke.
Well, I mean, that would have to be it, but they try to make it sound as though they're doing it voluntarily, which is very hard to buy. I'm doing it because we're trying to declutter. I don't want to have so much stuff. I want to, there's a lot of articles and stuff written about minimalizing. Oh, you want to minimalize. You want to simplify your life.
Yeah.
You want to do all these things.
Which I'm all for, by the way.
I am too. But I was talking to somebody about it. I am. I'm for it. Think I'm lying?
No, I know you're for it. Because you're never going to do anything about it.
I was talking to somebody about this. They're going on about how they want to simplify and get into a smaller place.
Says the archivist.
So it's funny. I'm thinking, well, if I want to simplify, I'd like to go into a bigger place that has more room for stuff so I can simplify one room and move it into just pile it somewhere else.
No, see, I think you would do perfect with an Airstream just for your archive. Then you could minimalize.
That's the Airstream wouldn't be able to. The archive, no, I've got a book collection that is thousands of volumes would fill the Airstream up.
Oh.
Not possible.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it is some sort of a sign, but it's like something that's always baffled me. For example, the little town of Albany and San Carlos. There's a bunch of these towns in the Bay Area that are old towns, Burlingame, and they have entire neighborhoods that were built during the 20s and 30s, pre-Depression.
Yeah.
But the houses was designed for housing. There were cottages. There were 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom houses and 3-bedroom houses. And, of course, the way real estate went up in price normally before recent was pretty steady. So you'd buy a 1-bedroom place, you move into it with your wife, and then you'd have maybe a kid, and then you'd have enough equity that you could move to the 2-bedroom place in the same basic city. And then you could go, eventually, as things went up or down, real estate prices, you could leverage and ratchet, and then you can get into bigger places, which is but you need a starter house. They don't make these starter houses anymore.
No. Well, yeah, they do. They do. They're $1 million, and they're in Austin.
It's ludicrous.
I got a note from recently graduated millennial who gave me boots on the ground report, which I'm going to tie into another piece from NPR. It's from Zach. Hey, Adam and John, I've been listening to the podcast for a little over 6 months. I've only managed to donate once after I paid off my student loans. Good job, Zach. But I plan on doing more once I get my financial situation in order. On Thursday's podcast, episode 910, John mentioned how the millennials aren't the problem, the education system is. I 110% agree with his assessment. Right there, you can see the problem with the education system. You can't do 110%. I have been a product of the education system I was raised in. I may be a special case as I attended a Christian private school K through 12. This education wasn't where too much brainwashing took place. Surprisingly, the heaviest brainwashing came from my business classes for my Christian university, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Science and an MBA in Business Administration. My final year in my case studies in business were assigned to case studies to read and discuss in class. Every single one of these cases had something to do with climate change and global warming. This surprised me as I figured most Christian universities were primarily conservative leaning. When the professor asked for feedback on the class at the end of the year, I raised my hand and suggested there be less climate change focused case studies. I said, "We get the planet is dying." Everyone turned and looked as I was generally quiet in class, and some even gasped. Aside from this scenario, each of my classes had heavy emphasis on globalism, and it was seen by almost every classmate as agreed to. When one of my professors asked whether we thought globalism was good or bad for the economy, the only ones to raise our hands for bad was me and a 50-year-old preacher in the back of the class. The professor was respectful to our opinions, but many classmates looked around confused that anyone could possibly believe there are other options besides globalism to benefit the economy. Sorry for the long note. Just thought I'd give you a taste of what's happening in business curriculums. Thank you, Zach. Well, Zach, thank you. And
yeah,
I would thanks
for the good news.
I'd like to play a clip from NPR's On Point with Tom Ashbrook. And a millennial calls in. And what she says is such a perfect example of what is wrong with, Zach, with your age group. And I think you're in some real trouble if this is what's on your mind.
Sarah in Brooklyn, New York. Sarah, thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Thank you, Tom. I am calling because I just wanted to mention something that I don't hear anyone else talking about, and that is that it feels like the president has no plan for my generation, which is like the millennials.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everything that he's trying to appeal to is like, sure, it's great that like our parents can have coal mining jobs again. I mean, we don't love that, but but what is going to happen with the things that we want to do? I feel like we don't have a seat at the table.
What do you want to hear him talking about that you don't think he is?
I work in technology in New York in a tech company, and we have Republicans too here that come from other states.
Sure.
We kind of have a consensus just because we're millennials, we're the same generation.
Yep.
We want to talk about the environment. We are going to have to deal with the consequences of all of these policies. We're the real consequence barriers, and we just don't have a seat at the table. Baby boomers are like, it's just, they still have like a grip on everything. And I just feel like we need to start like a super PAC or something to get all the baby boomers out.
Sarah, I mean, but the president says he wants this gleaming future, all new infrastructure, a gleaming American future. That would be for millennials, I guess, Sarah.
No, not the way the kind of stuff that he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's not technologically advanced. He's talking about tunnels and bridges.
And coal.
He's trying to cut down on driving.
Yeah. Sarah, I really appreciate your call. Millennial power there. The flag raised from Brooklyn.
Oh, millennial power there. So what she wants is just a bunch of free stuff. She didn't say that, but she clearly doesn't want anything. This is not for us. This is no good. We don't need roads.
We don't want bridges. We don't want to even drive. We want to stay home.
Who gives a crap about parents have coal jobs? Who cares? We want jobs, but not coal jobs. We want something for my...
I would say there's definitely elements of being a kind of a spotty view of the world that's not complete. It's like
no, it's very
sketchy,
very incomplete.
Yeah.
No, it's horrible. Man, there's something happened. I don't have the official report. It actually falls a little bit under. Here we go.
All aboard, train's good, plane's bad.
Woo-hoo! This is really an odd thing that happened. I just wanted to mention it. There was a Challenger 604 flight level 350, so 35,000 feet, going from the Mal. I think that's Maldives. Yeah, the Maldives to Abu Dhabi. And they passed an Airbus 380 going in the opposite direction at flight level 360, so only 1,000 feet above, 36,000 feet. But they were exactly on the same path. So they crossed, and the separation is fine, 1,000 feet. Oh, it's not typical that you have that kind of encounter at that level, but certainly when they're head on, so one is coming, I don't know if it was north or south, but let's say one comes from the north, you're going south, and you fly over each other. And the Challenger is not a small aircraft. It's a nice private jet.
No, not hardly.
Nice private jet. So this thing, the Airbus 380 flies over them, and 2 seconds later, the wake turbulence rotates the Challenger 3 to 5 times, bends the airframe. Everything the plane is a total loss. People are seriously injured inside. They're alive, but they're seriously injured. They do land it. But man, can you imagine being in your jet and then all of a sudden you're rotating? And they had no control. They lost 10,000 feet of altitude before they could get
This hasn't been reported much. This is a great story.
It's a fabulous story. Now, again, I don't have the official any FAA report yet, but this is a pretty complete report I put in the show notes. Aircraft received damage beyond repair due to G-forces, written off entirely.
I was in a big plane, relatively big compared to the Challenger, which is big, but a 737 is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And we got flying from Ontario. We got, according to someone, I can't remember the exact details, a B-2 or the B-1. It's not the B-1 bomber, the stealthy thing.
The stealth bomber. Got
in the wake of that thing. And it was unbelievable. I've never been in turbulence like that. It was, it didn't open. I was told by a guy who flew a lot more than I did that unless the doors of the cargo, the little overhead bins, unless those things all pop open, throwing luggage on people in a turbulent situation, it's not bad turbulence, according to him.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, but it was bad.
I'm sure it wasn't fun. I'm sure of that.
But being in a little plane getting hit by something like that, I can't imagine what it would do.
Well, when I used to fly the Cessna, from Amsterdam or Rotterdam, they say, okay, line up behind the 737. I'm like, no, do you not see what I am? You want to wait 2 full minutes before taking off in a small craft after a big plane goes, because you could totally you can just get swirled right down to the ground. Very frightening wake turbulence. Is what's Malaysia? Do we like Malaysia? Are they okay there in Malaysia?
Yeah, it's a Muslim country run by Chinese.
You sure they're not a bunch of homophobes?
I can't say for sure that they're not homophobes. They could be.
It's one of Disney's most classic fairy tales, and now it's due to be released as a live-action remake. But the latest Beauty and the Beast is proving controversial in some countries. There was talk of banning the movie in Russia, and now cinemas in Malaysia have delayed its release. It's all due to what's described as a gay moment in the film. The delay happens even though Malaysian censors had cleared the film after the scene was cut from the movie. Authorities now say it's been delayed due to unforeseen circumstances.
A bunch of homophobes. I still don't know what the actual offending.
I don't know what it is either, but somebody tweeted something quite funny. I think it's one of our producers too.
Of course.
She said, "I can't." She says, "I guess people are all bent out of shape about the one gay scene, but they don't seem to mind a woman falling in love with an animal."
Bestiality, I'm against it. I do not like Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, bestiality is okay, but that gay thing, no, it's got to go.
It's got to be the candelabra who's gay. That's got to be it. The candelabra is a gay thing. It's kind of.
Has anybody ever watched the movie The Producers?
Yeah, of course I've watched it.
Mel Brooks.
Yes, of course. And
how come they didn't ban that thing? That's some of the funniest anti-gay stuff you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
But okay. Onward. I got some North Korea stuff. There's some cool stuff.
Okay.
We could actually take a little break from the regular stuff and go over some of these new words that have come in.
Yes. Why don't we do that? Because now I'd like to set some parameters around this, because we're basically getting two kinds of submissions. One is words, old words like kerfuffle. I'll just throw one out there. I personally don't like doing that. I'd like to do the sayings like, cat fur to make kitten breeches, stuff like that.
Well, there's a couple of just words that I think are fine if you could see them into a. It's not here's what doesn't bother. The words don't bother me like they bother you. Here's what bothers me: a phrase that is still in play.
Yeah, that's no good.
It's like no. This is not some old phrase you're trying to bring back. It's already been brought back, and we get tons of these things. I want to also mention, if you're going to send these things to me, please use the subject line words. Yeah. Not old phrases or all these crazy other subject lines, because I like to just look them up and then go through them. And then the worst thing, most people are tweeting this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to read. I'm just going to read straight up.
Okay.
Here's Kevin Curley. Too big for your britches. Peckerwood, he's got moxie. That, I think, qualifies a little bit. Don't know his ass from the hole in the ground. That's not new. I mean, that's new. It's not new, but it's still used. Now, this one is I've never heard. Hanging in, this would be something you might like. Hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit.
I've never heard that one.
I never heard it either, but I believe it probably is a real phrase from the South. Keep a stiff upper lip. The cream will rise to the top. This again.
Yeah, that's all new stuff.
Now, one phrase which actually came up in a family conversation is bender.
Going on a bender?
Oh, the guy went on a bender, and I had
that's
JC.
That's still being used.
I don't know how much is being used, but I had to say I had two millennials in the house, and it came up as a phrase, and I asked them both, what does it mean?
They didn't know.
And what it means, for anyone who doesn't know, it means you're bending your elbow a lot drinking.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know either, apparently.
No, I didn't.
Yes, bending. You're bending.
On a bender.
So you're bending. That's what a bender means.
Okay.
Broadside of a barn. I don't think that's new. This is interesting. Somebody mentioned the term, and this came to I came up with a couple of other ones. They came up with the term Mickey Mouse. Oh, that's Mickey Mouse. I used to use that a lot.
Yeah.
And in broadcasting, it's used a lot, Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
As loud, like a
Mickey Mouse.
You would.
Yeah,
you would use it. That's a Mickey Mouse rig.
Yeah. How about what's on the rail for the lizard?
I saw that one, and I don't even get it.
It's a southern way of saying what's on the agenda for today. I don't know where it's from. And by the way, if you send these things in, please let us know if you can what they mean or where they come from. That's the whole point, kind of.
Rinky Dink is another one, but I think still kind of in play. Now, one or two that people say, "Oh wow," and things like that still. But one I remember from, I don't know, it was grammar school or whatever, was boss.
Boss, sure.
Oh, that's boss.
I think that's still used.
I doubt it.
Yeah, yes, it is. It is.
Bitchin'.
It's still used. I say it.
Yeah, it's very rare. Okay, now this was a good one. This is somebody came up with, I think it's on what's his name's list. Kevin's. What in the Sam Hill is going on?
Yeah, good one. Who was Sam Hill?
There's actually a reference to Sam Hill in one of the explanations.
How about when shit hits the fan? Although still used, where does that come from?
That's commonly used.
But where does that come from?
Where does it come from? Well, I mean, the visual is dynamite.
Yes.
But where does it come from? I don't know. We should look that one. Somebody has to find that one first. It might be available. Red Letter Day, Riff Raff, Forever and a Day, Propaganda, and the next, I don't know, that's something else. Till Kingdom Comes.
Now, are you going to write these down and publish these? Because this is...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, I'm reading this off a sheet, which is one of the sheets I've got the collection on.
Okay.
Meaner Than a Wet Cat.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Criminy. Now, this guy says, G's O Pete is better than criminy. I don't know what that even means. Keister.
It's your ass.
Yes. Which I think people still say that. Here's another guy. Chris Engler wrote in. These old phrases your mom would yell at you. When you didn't close the door, were you born in a barn?
Yeah. I wonder if that's still used, if that still holds. Doubtful.
When you waste something, do you think that stuff grows on trees? Your money grows on trees. My dad used to bitch about that. Here's another guy who wrote in. There's expressions from my Montana. These are from Montana. Grew up in Spokane. Who do you think I am, Daddy Warbucks?
Yeah.
6 of 1, half dozen of the other. Looks like you got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
They nickel and dime you to death is still used. That thing will cost you an arm and a leg. What time is it? 2 freckles past a hair. What time is it? Half past kissing time. Time to kiss again. Never heard that one.
Never heard that one either. No.
Now this one I heard my mom say. You look like a ragamuffin. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah, it's even better if you call you look like a blotto ragamuffin.
Blotto. You really like that.
You know why? You know why? Because that was the one time I did one real acting gig in my life. Swamp Thing. Look it up. I
saw it already. I've watched this fine movie.
It's not a movie. It was a 1-hour episode. And in there, as a rock and roll guy in the 80s, the line is, I don't know, man. I was really blotto. And I said to the writer, I said,
nobody says this, you idiots.
Hey, you know what they said? Yeah, you will. It's the stupidest line ever. I could not, and I'd never heard of it at the time.
Somebody get us a clip. We'll run it on the show. When someone was angry, they had a bee in their bonnet. You ever heard that?
I have. Of course I've heard the bee in the bonnet.
Now, this one, someone with a head honcho boss was called the Big Mo Gundy. Never heard this.
No, never heard. Big man on campus, I know that.
Well, there's also there's a bunch of phrases for the boss. When 2 people are up to no good, those 2 are thick as thieves.
Thick as thieves.
Heard that. I think that's still around.
Yeah.
Pull the wool over your eyes is still around.
Yeah.
The real McCoy is still around. Where's the pants in the family is still around. See, this is a problem with this list.
Let's from now on, let's only do things that are applicable instead of the ones that we think are not applicable.
Here's one that's kind of, I think, may have been lost. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach.
Yeah,
I don't see anyone saying that.
Yeah.
Did anyone say that? I've never heard it for decades.
Yes. Tina and I used it just the other day. But, of course, we're decades old, so there you go.
Okay, we'll skip that. This is all from David V.
You know what we should do? So we need, seriously, programming note. We need to tighten this up. We need a jingle.
We do need a jingle.
So what is it called?
I had a graphic for it that I was trying to do this on the old blog, and I had a graphic. I'll dig it up because I gave it a name. Here's one.
Maybe we call it, like words from the. We have to have something. Come on, this is.
The phrases. Bring back the old phrases. I don't have a title on my top of my head.
Idioms? No. Is it idioms? Idioms?
Are these idioms? I guess they're kind of idioms. Look, I'm going to do one more. Idioms. One last one, which I never heard. Couldn't pour piss out of a boot if the instructions were written on the heel.
Wow. That's interesting because the one I was bringing to the table today, only one, with the explanation of where it comes from, is piss poor. Have you ever heard of someone being piss poor?
Oh, yeah, piss poor. But I've never heard of someone being piss poor. I heard it like this. That was a piss poor performance.
Yes. Well, it stems from the good old days when urine was used to tan animal skins. So poor families would all pee in a pot, and then once a day, the urine was taken and sold to the tannery. That is piss poor. That, I think, is the definition of piss poor.
Well, that's the topper, so we're done with it. Okay. We need an intro and outro for this segment. We'll keep it shorter.
Yeah.
And you always have you're the topper man.
Okay.
Thanks, Nancy.
All right, we'll take care of it. No problem. See, there's your ISO. All right, we can do one each, and then we're done.
And by the way, we have an ISO for that Conan bit you might want to play.
We do. Let me see.
I think this is useful for a lot of stuff.
I don't see it. You sent me a Conan ISO?
It's the ISO advertise.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Unless they advertise.
Yeah, okay. put that in the end of show. That's kind of funny. Very good. Actually, I'll just do my last bit here. I'm very excited. March, I think 26th. There's a big thing that my community is going to be doing a march, some kind of big event in Scandinavia. It's called the.
You mean your community? Yes. Austin?
No, my community. Have a listen.
While he may not say it himself, Keaton Savard has become an advocate for other children and youth living with Tourette syndrome.
I know a lot of people think if you have Tourette's, you're swearing all over the place, which isn't true. Tourette's can be really anything, and it really depends on the severity that you have it.
Tourette syndrome is a neurodevelopmental or brain-based condition that causes neurodevelopment brain condition. I'm screwed.
On the severity that you have it.
Tourette syndrome is a neurodevelopmental or brain-based condition that causes people who have it to make involuntary sounds and movements. When Savard was in just grade 5, he organized a presentation for his class about Tourette syndrome to help them understand what he lives with every day.
I do a lot of tics, which can be physical or verbal, and so some of the tics, I know one of the worst ones, I used to jump up and down, and I remember sitting in class that used to be really hard.
Now 14 years old, he continues to challenge the misconceptions people have and takes any judgment he encounters in stride.
They don't really know everything about it, and they're kind of jumping to conclusion. And I think maybe it'd be better if they met someone with Tourette's, because I think it might change their mind.
That's why it's really important that we bring awareness to Tourette's, so that when people understand it, there's not that stigma attached to it, and people are more open and accepting.
Lowen is coordinating March 26th Trek for Tourette's. It's a national event. This will mark 5 years the Winnipeg chapter has held a walk-run.
The Trek for Tourette's, John. I got to be in that. That's awesome.
You should.
And, everyone has...
I thought what I took away from that was a very interesting idea. There are probably, every classroom probably has one kid at least that has a mild form of Tourette's.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the one that wants to jump up and down. I don't know any of those. But I think it's a great idea for one of these kids to go up and explain it to the other kids, because Tourette's, there's been some specials on it, is actually quite fascinating.
No kidding. Living with it is even more fascinating.
Well, I don't know about if that's any fun, but it's a fascinating thing to at least, and you should know about it, because I felt I knew enough about Tourette's when that guy got thrown off the plane that I've talked about on the show before, that I really felt bad about this situation for this poor guy, even though he was
but honestly,
he was cussing at everybody coming in.
That is kind of the cool Tourette's, I mean,
he had the cussing.
I don't have anything cool like that, but I do like their
you cuss a lot.
Their signs. I tick for Tourette's. Nice. I got to get me one of those. I got to get me a sticker, a badge. I'm a podcaster with Tourette's. The Tourette's Cast. Now, if your kid has Tourette's, shoot me a note. I'll tell you how to deal with it. It's very simple. Because the main thing is find out what your superpower is. Remember, you get a superpower when you get Tourette's.
Usually it's organizing. That's why you mock me constantly.
Well, OCD is directly related to Tourette's. Directly related.
Yeah, so don't drug the kid is the point.
Yes, thank you. Don't drug the kid. March. Trek for Tourette's.
Yeah, Trek instead.
Ik trek voor Tourette's. Okay, what... 3 Dutch people in the audience got that one. You got a final clip to get us out of here, John? Something happy, something fun, something you've really been looking forward to showing.
Here's one. Here's a clip that
Clip of the day, maybe. You got a clip of the day.
I wish I had a clip of the day, but this Pope, Priests, and Marriage clip is a good one.
Pope, priests, and marriage.
Francis has now signaled that he would consider letting some married men become priests, but with strict limits. He told a German newspaper the men would have to be older with proven character, and they'd serve only where there's a shortage of clergy.
There you go.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. There's that coming up.
Yeah.
And then let's get this out of the way. This China 2025 I thought was ludicrous.
China 2025.
You're back with The World Today. China is to step up efforts to help the country transform its industrial sector. That's the message from Minister of Industry and Information Technology, Miao Wei, who made the comments on the sidelines of Beijing's ongoing political sessions. Along with Vice Minister Xing Guobing and Ministry spokesman Zhang Feng, Miao elaborated on pushing forward with and implementing the Made in China 2025 strategy designed to transform China into a world manufacturing powerhouse.
What?
That's what I said. What?
Were they going to manufacture for the whole universe now? It's not enough that they're already getting it.
I thought they already were the manufacturing powerhouse.
Those Chinese, man, never happy. Never happy.
Never happy.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. Good. We'll be back on Sunday. I'm traveling. Tonight we leave. So it's another one of those. I have my checklist, though, for the studio. I'm not going to mess that up. I may not have underwear or socks, but I'll have the studio.
Oh, you need a checklist for that, too. You need checklists.
I'm working on my checklists. All right, John, thank you for your courage.
And thank you for your courage.
And thank everybody who is listening to the program. Remember, we have another one coming up on Sunday. Part of it on location. And we'd like you to remember us at dvorak.org/NA. To help us out. And, of course, email, tweets, anything you got for the show. And until then, coming to you from the Crackpot Condo in the Skyscraper here in downtown Austin, Texas, Douchebag Central with South by Southwest. Lots of man buns. FEMA Region 6 on the map in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where now I know where all the man buns went, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We will be back Sunday right here on No Agenda. Until then, adios, mofos!
You think that Donald Trump should be impeached over Russia? Do you believe anything about that dossier?
I don't think you can do the impeachment just because I think, but I think impeachment will be necessary. Impeachment. 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 Impeachment will be necessary. Impeachment. Impeachment. Impeachment will be necessary. We will find the connection. Sex action. We will find sex action.
Do you believe anything about that dossier?
But I think impeachment will be necessary. Impeachment. Impeachment. Impeachment will be necessary.
You think that Donald Trump should be impeached over Russia? Do you believe anything about that dossier?
I don't think you can do the impeachment just because I think, but I think impeachment will be necessary.
Thanks, Nancy.
Well, and just remember, you wouldn't know that until he filed. He didn't file until 2 days ago, so therefore nobody would have known that because he hadn't filed.
And smile. Hey, President Trump smiled. Smile, man.
Sex actions.
Well, Donald Trump is an alien organism. Have to destroy him.
You wouldn't know that until he filed.
Around.
And said nothing. Here's smile.
That's absolutely true. I don't think you...
Remember, you wouldn't because he hadn't filed.
Others think. I don't...
Smile, man. Here's smile.
I think, or others think. I don't think you can...
Politics. Donald Trump is an alien...
Until he filed. He didn't file.
I think. I don't think you can...
Days ago.
Destroy him. Is that Donald Trump is an alien...
Smiling. I'm going to hear smile.
I think. I don't think you can...
He filed. He didn't file until 2 days ago.
Here's smile. Smile, man.
Because
the alien has been injected.
Because he hadn't filed.
But I think...
I'm going to say President Trump smiled.
Invest. I don't think you can do this.
3 on that side, 3 on the other.
Donald Trump is an... Have to destroy...
Filed.
That smile. See this?
I think...
Is an alien organism. Donald...
2 days because he hadn't filed.
Smile.
I think...
What do you make of that?
Informed everybody around him.
I think...
Here's smile.
I think...
As a foreign agent until 2 days ago.
I think... that if we do,
Smile, man. I mean, make it that smile. See them until he filed. He didn't file till 2 days. Until he filed.
Make it that smile.
Filed till 2 days. Until he filed.
I think with sex,
You wouldn't know that.
it's supposed to be true. I don't think.
2 days ago because
I think.
ISIS. We will follow them to the gates of hell. ISIS.
I feel good. He trolled him. He baited him. He trolled him. He baited him. He trolled him. He baited him. I wish I was that smart. See, that's the Trump dimension. That's the Trump dimension. He trolled him. That's the Trump dimension. He baited him. That's the Trump dimension. He trolled him. That's the Trump dimension. That's the Trump dimension. He trolled him. That's the Trump dimension. He baited him. I wish I was that smart. See, that's the Trump dimension. It's Trump. The plan of Trump. And thus, by extension, Trump. Trump just trolled you. But that's okay. It's Trump. The plan of Trump. And thus, by extension, Trump.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA.
Thanks, Obama.